Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody.
Hi there. Hello. There we go. The aftermath of the quiz. That feels like a long time ago. It was last week. What an event. What a way for us to go head to head. It was incredibly intense. And what a result. But obviously, round of applause to you, Andy, for yet another wonderful series of questions and brain teasers and fun rounds. It was good times.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope the people at home enjoyed it as well. I like doing a quiz. It's good. It's good fun week.
It is good
As
fun.
usual,
a lot of work, though. I imagine, right? A lot of
It
work.
is that it's. I think I said at the time, doing a quiz for horror fans specifically, especially ones that do a podcast. It's a little bit different from it's not unchallenging to do one for a regular audience like at the pub or anything else because you have to still work out a level, but it's a very different level. And I think when you're doing this to genre fans, it's a little tougher because you can't use the standard questions that would be absolutely fine for anyone.
I thought it was a good mix of questions of stuff that was like fairly recent, but also stuff that we'd like. Maybe there was a slight advantage. I don't want to say slight advantage, but in a way, because some of the films that popped up were like, and it could have been any of us who got the questions, were maybe films we'd covered on the podcast in the last
I tend to
year
look
or so.
through. I tend to look through.
I like that
we've done in the last year for a bit of inspiration. One, because if I look at ones we've done in the last year, they are potentially ones that I haven't done in a previous quiz. That helps me avoid
of course,
duplicates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then it's also a way kind of reward the people listening at home, right? Because if they listen every week, then maybe they've heard that. Maybe they've picked up that little bit of trivia along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to spoil it, because if somebody wants to now go and listen to the quiz episode, because it was a lot of fun and it was incredibly I'd say like competitive, but I'm not taking anything away from Liam James. He was great. Liam Banks's knowledge was off the charts.
He does.
Couldn't believe this stuff that he was getting right.
Exceptionally well. Exceptionally well.
Yeah. And I did take some of the questions and quiz my partner Charlie, and she was getting a lot right as well. And I was a bit like, oh God, I don't know how I feel about this.
We throwing down the gauntlet. So right, Charlie, think you know about trivia, do you? Well, I'll see you on the next episode.
I reckon under the cosh, under the pressure of the episode, she would crumble like a dry old hobnob. Sorry, Charlie. Yeah. But yeah, that was it. I feel like I got incredibly lucky because obviously I was pretty much behind for the whole of and I had to just put. Well, sorry, I don't want to spoil it. I feel like I was going to spoil it.
It's part of the game. I think good game in theory for you there, Ben. But like you say, it's back to business as usual today. Just talking about some lovely films.
Yeah. So I don't think we'd decided on the October lineup completely last week, had we?
No, I think we were musing it live, but then we realised that it's only October now. It's only Halloween month.
It's only bloody October, the greatest month of all time. Now, I've always been a fan of horror and Halloween in general, but I feel like since doing this podcast for the last 6 years, I guess, I think I've become even more of a person who makes October and Halloween like their personality. Because now it's just like, watching horror films, getting the Halloween decorations in, making plans for things you're going to do over Halloween. I'm going to be going to watch some good movies. Obviously, we're going to be interviewing the Forbidden Worlds Festival organizers this week as well. And I've just got a couple of tickets for screenings of Evil Dead 2 and the Elvira movie. So that should be fun over the sort of just pre-Halloween weekend. I haven't got tickets for this either yet, but the Curzon Cinema in Clevedon, which is Southwest, if anyone's Southwest UK, are doing a screening of The Fog on the 4th of November. And apparently it's an immersive screening. Now, does that mean...
I was reading about this. This sounds great.
Is there going to be a fog? Is
You'd
there
hope
going to be a
so.
fog? Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be. I mean, that sounds great. I mean, I'm already sold. Clevedon's like pretty close to where I live, so I think I should definitely get there for that. Yeah, very excited to celebrate Halloween it properly, I guess. I mean, I guess I always do it properly to a degree, but this feels extra special. How about you, Andy? Have you got any
Um,
Halloween plans in the bank yet?
I'm front loading my local plans because I am away with work on the week running up to Halloween, which is
Are
kind of disruptive to the actual Halloween planning.
are you away with work on actual Halloween, the date of
Um,
Halloween?
I will be on holiday after that, so I
Mm.
don't know how the local holiday is going to. But don't feel sad for me, Ben. I'm missing out on Halloween here, but it does mean in the week running up to Halloween, I'll be in Las Vegas. So I imagine they'll probably do Halloweeny things
Oh
there.
wow! Oh my god!
So if anyone in or around the Las Vegas area listens, drop us
Yeah.
drop us a note with some Halloween week recommendations. I want to know your well, it's and therefore because Halloween itself is on what day of the week?
Think it's Monday, I
Yeah,
think.
so I'm there for I'm certainly there on the like in the week running up to it. I think got the Friday night as well. So yeah,
Wow.
I'll be I'll see what's going on Halloween adjacent there. At very least, if nothing bloody else, Ben, I'll be able to go to a cinema and see Pearl.
Oh yeah, of course. Because
After
who knows when the UK are going to get it?
yeah, because we are it it seems that it's maybe second only to Christmas movies. We'll pivot into horror news with this talking point, I guess. That I think some really top looking horror films this year don't have UK release dates yet because they've struggled to find a distributor. And say
Hmm.
second only to Christmas films, you would think you'd pull your finger out to try and get these
Yeah,
get
because it
these on
feels
the
like
slate for this time of year.
sometimes horror films like that end up like in the January graveyard, don't they? A little bit.
Yeah.
Which tends to happen quite often. You've got to get to. Have you had an American cinema experience? I mean, you're much more well traveled than me, so I expect you have.
I've never been to the cinema in the US.
Okay.
Never ever.
I just feel I've only ever been to like a small. I've never been to like a huge multiplex or anything. I went to the Nighthawk Cinema in Brooklyn, New York. I had intended to go and watch The Thing midnight
Oh,
screening on my 30th birthday. However, it was sold out when I got there. Silly me for not booking ahead. But
yeah,
it was quite a.
go to the ticket man and go, oh, it's my birthday.
I mean, I could have done and I should have done, but yeah, I was very upset. But it was quite a last minute sort of thing, so I didn't end up doing it. It would have been perfect. But we watched that movie Moonlight instead,
Okay.
the Oscar winning movie from that year, which was great. However, by the time it like started, I think it was like 1:30 in the morning. So I was I know, because we got there for a midnight screening, and they're like, "Oh well, Moonlight started 30 minutes ago, but there's another show at 1:30," and I was like, "Ah, "Yeah."
Okay. Just go to
Uh,
bed.
yeah,
Um,
and I was definitely struggling. I'd had a few beverages as well, so
few tinnies.
I was falling asleep.
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to get to see Pearl because, like, what is it? So, Hellraiser, which is pretty much going to be on Disney Plus, but not yet.
Yeah,
So that doesn't have a UK release yet. Pearl doesn't have a UK release yet. Barbarian doesn't have a UK release yet.
I heard Barbarian was possibly going to be out end of October, possibly.
Oh, okay, maybe they maybe have pulled that one together. What I
Yeah,
think there's at
maybe.
least
I
one more though,
couldn't
right?
confirm it. Yeah, possibly. Um, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, isn't it? Uh, yeah, but it's strange because you kind of felt like that those days were over, and that films just got worldwide releases, or at least um America and Europe or whatever. But
Yeah,
no, apparently not. Uh, so yeah, mentioning the October lineup. So obviously this week is Smile. We're doing this a brand new movie that came out. I don't know if we were originally going to do a full episode on it, but I think a lot of the reviews were coming in pretty good. A lot of the marketing was pretty
they've
exciting. So
marketed
we're
the
like,
shit out of this one, haven't they? This has been
yeah, marketed the shit out of it. So next week we'll be doing the Hellraiser. Don't want to say remake or reboot. The new Hellraiser.
new
Um, and
Hellraiser.
And then the third week of the month, we'll be doing Halloween Ends. So a trio of brand new releases. And then ending the month on, I guess, what you could call our Halloween special. But it's going to arrive on the 26th of October. We're watching Ghost Watch with friend of the show, patron against his will, an all-round lovely man, Mr. John Crinan. Obviously, the BBC event of 1992, I don't know, something like
It
that.
is. It's a big milestone year for it this year.
Yeah. So, well, yes. Well, God, yeah. So 30 years since it was originally out. Yeah, it's hugely well loved in the horror community, and it's one of those things that like everyone seems to remember, everyone seems to know about. Like no matter who you talk to, oh, do you remember that Ghost Watch thing on BBC? Like obviously UK, mainly UK horror fans. A lot of the older generation as well. My dad's like, oh yeah, was that real? Oh yeah, it's real. Yeah, it really happened. A lot of people obviously thought it was real, as a lot of people thought the War of the Worlds radio show was when that first aired. So in the world of 2022 with technology and the cynical outlook on life, that probably would never happen again. I think maybe Blair Witch Project was the last. Is it real or is it not real? That was the last of those
Yeah, because the
cultural
internet was
events.
just kind of the internet at the Blair Witch time was a thing, but wasn't wasn't immediately quite so accessible or very quick to check these things. You could have a website, and if it was good, it'd be like, it's on the internet, mate. It's fine.
It's on the bloody internet. So yeah, that's how our October lines up. We're also doing for the third year in a row the 31 days of horror hangout challenge. It's pretty much exclusively on Twitter that we're doing this, where we just post the link to one of our previous podcasts. Is we've chosen like the best of the last 12 months because we've had some really good episodes in the last 12 months that are worth revisiting. So yeah, for every night in October, we're saying watch this horror movie and then listen to the accompanying episode. Listen to it and tweet us, interact with the hosts. So we've added all those details over on Twitter. That's at horror_hangout_. Yeah, come and interact with us. If you've seen the film before, obviously come and tell us what you think of it. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it and then tell us what you think of it.
Yeah, drop us your reviews in. Let us know if you agree with us, disagree. And obviously there's a lot on to watch around this festive time of year. So
it's just some suggestions to
if you
watch,
just have time for one or the other, that's fine. If you have less time to listen, if you already see the film, it's fine. If you're looking for if you're doing a 31 days of horror challenge, you want to watch them all, take that as a little suggestion list. Have a peek across it.
Yeah, it can be difficult. There's a lot out there. So there we go. That's how our October is lining up. Oh, and one more interview as well. So obviously I mentioned the Forbidden Worlds Festival interview that we've got coming up. Or actually 2 more interviews, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the other interview I was going to mention is from the author V Castro. I was lucky enough to meet her just a couple of weeks ago, and she'll be chatting about her new book Aliens Vasquez, which chronicles the life of the iconic Aliens character. That book released on the 25th of October. So that's really cool to see what she's going to do with obviously a well-loved character, a character who obviously we know what happens to her. We understand her fate after the movie Aliens, but what came before? What was her life like? Obviously there weren't any xenomorphs around. She didn't grow up with xenomorphs. But
no, that was the first time she'd met him.
Yeah. Is that it? Have we got anything else?
I got one more. Possibly
that's right.
this week. Got to see if we can get schedules to match up. I am going to, in a interview that will no doubt confuse everyone on first name basis. I'm going to be meeting Andy Edwards, who is one of the creators behind the Midnight Peep Show, which was one of the films that we saw over at Fright Fest this year.
Yeah,
I believe Andy's one of the sections I liked most of all, and he also wrote on The Ghosts of Monday.
yeah, okay,
yeah.
So 2 films you saw at Fright Fest that you'll be able to
that featured. That's so we'll be talking about those. We'll be talking about lots of stuff.
Awesome, great. So October is absolutely stuffed. If you're a Horror Hangout listener, which if you just heard me say that, then you are
one. Welcome, whether you've listened to thousands of hours or just this one.
Just this single hour. If you've switched off before this, then
Wouldn't have heard it.
Would have heard it.
What have you been watching this week, Ben?
I've got a couple of bits of
It's
horror
Halloween
news
now.
before that. A couple of tiny bits of
Oh,
horror
yeah,
news.
sorry.
Don't want to.
Piling through. Don't want to miss the
That's all right.
news. What else you got for
Apologies.
us?
Apologies. Apparently, there's going to be a sequel to Trick or Treat, according to Michael Dougherty. So that's obviously the director of the horror anthology Trick or Treat, which came out in 2009, I think. Obviously, again, a bit of a cult movie. Very, very popular again amongst the horror circles, and one that kind of seems to always be on people's lips when we're talking about October watches. It seems like a sort of a yearly watch for some people. And yeah, they can finally share the news. Apparently, he's in active development with Legendary on the sequel to Trick or Treat, and everybody that everyone wants to happen. Did they? Yeah. Get ready for more from Sam. I've only ever seen the original once. We did cover it on this show a few years ago. Yeah, anthologies always good. Horror and Halloween themed anthologies. Can he get enough?
Exactly.
And I think also Trick or Treat is, again, this might only be US based. Haven't heard anything UK based. It got re-released in cinemas, didn't it, this year? From like, or it is getting re-released. I think from like the end of October, for maybe a week or 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be because it's never been in theaters apparently.
I'll get it out there then.
Yeah, so I don't obviously must have been like a DVD thing back in the day. DVD
on home video cassette,
home video cassette or Betamax. So there's that. Also, The Crow reboot starring Bill Skarsgård has reportedly wrapped production. I thought maybe this was one that was never going to happen. But I'm not there on set every day, so I don't know. It just seemed like every time we heard some news, it was like, oh no, something else. It's been delayed. But apparently a 10-week shoot across numerous locations in Prague.
Okay.
Very like gothic.
Sound like the Crow then.
I'm the Crow. That's what he does, isn't it? That's what he does.
That's his catchphrase.
He stands out. I'm the bloody Crow. Look at me. I'm flying. Yeah. Interested in this. The Crow. Would that be a good film to do on this podcast?
Yeah, why not? Especially if you ever pivot into like The Crow. I don't know. Like, I guess it's more of a superhero movie, but he does wear black makeup and he's a bit spooky.
He's ever so spooky. He's the spookiest of the bird-based superheroes, right?
Can't think of any spookier ones.
No.
Any spookier bird-based superheroes?
No. Definitely not.
I guess Raven is a magic one.
Raven, WWE and ECW hardcore champion.
No, the magic woman from Teen Titans and her dad's a demon.
Yeah.
I guess he's pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, apart from Raven from Teen Titans, then
and
he
WWE.
is. Yeah, and he's really said he's got a shopping trolley full of weapons and stuff. It's pretty spooky.
Yeah. Do you remember what his entrance music was?
Just didn't like little crowy noises, and then it was the guitar, and he'd come out and go, "What about bloody me, Raven?
What about me?" He'd go, "Car, car, 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 car." I was bloody Raven here with a shopping trolley full of bits. Who do you think he is?
Those bin lids that most use as weapons, like tin foil.
Bin lids, which are like 3 millimeters thick.
Yeah, little tin foil ones that you can put on the barbecue.
It's soft. It's incredibly soft. So there's that. And the only other thing is there's a BBC Three slasher TV series called Wreck, which is coming later this month. It starts on October the 9th. And it's got the killer is in like a cute duck costume with a little yellow Macintosh.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
How are we spelling wreck? Wreck like a broken ship. Okay.
Yeah. Wreck like a shipwreck, because it's set aboard a cruise ship.
Oh, that's what it's
a new recruit infiltrates the 3,000 strong crew in a desperate race to find his missing sister. She was working abroad on the vessel, and there's a killer on there called, I don't know what it's called, but he looks like a duck. It seems like an incredibly difficult to like move around in costume. Like football mascots.
Yeah.
One of them is dressed like a boiler. One of them is dressed like a hammer. One of them is dressed like a big old pig. I don't know. Looks like that, and I feel like you couldn't get anything done in a costume like that. A, you'd be boiling. B, what I can't tell what he's looking through. Is there eye holes, or is he looking through the mouth? peripheral vision.
all of the extremities are soft. You got big glove hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going to strangle anyone.
You'd be punching someone as hard as you can, and they'd be going, "Well, that's quite nice, actually. It's lovely."
Ever so soft.
Ever so soft. So that is that for horror news.
That sounds good, though.
Yeah, it does sound good. It really does. So moving swiftly on is what we've been watching this week. Have you seen anything worth mentioning?
I've got a bloody bonanza for you, Ben. I tell you what, stop me if you've also seen one, and we'll talk about it together. But
okay.
let me rattle through a few of these bad boys.
Oh wow!
Knowing I'm busy at the end of the month, I'm starting my. I'm like doing a condensed working week, but for horror movies and your 31 days of horror challenge. So if I can be done with my 31 horror films I want to experience by about kind of the 18th, 20th, then I'll be right for the month. So let's rattle through. So one, I've been immensely enjoying my weekly dose of the top 100 horror moments on Shudder. I'm up to date on that. Have you been watching that? I know you love a documentary and a talking head, Ben.
I
been
do
watching
love a documentary. I haven't been watching it yet, but it's on the list, I'd say. It's on my peripherals. Oh, In Search of Darkness comes out this month as well. Oh my God. Part three.
Okay.
Part 3.
More lovely documentaries for us all to enjoy. Yeah. So I'm enjoying that. I tell you what, though, it's playing havoc with my watch list. I think you know.
Oh God.
You do a horror podcast for a few years. You think you've really seen it all, don't you? No, you get to a top 100. It's like, here, how's about this that you've not seen? Fair enough, add it on.
I haven't seen any of it.
So that's been good. And then I caught up with you. I know you've seen this, but I'm not sure if I've had a chance to talk about it. I watched Original Recipe Terrifier. Have you already? Did you mention what your thoughts were on that?
I think I mentioned it, and I mentioned that I wasn't particularly into it.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on it, Ben. I think that the physical acting of the, and I apologize, I don't have his name, but the physical acting that goes behind Art the Clown, the actor that portrays his part, I think it's really good. I think he's got a really nice physical style about him, and I like how he leans into the actual clowning along with his right horrible murders. But in terms of a delivery of story, I found it a little bit thin. And I say this before, Ben, they'll say, "Bloody Andy's gone soft." What one of these lefty liberals that's spoiling all of the shit things the government wants to do, but feels a bit mean spirited sometimes. I know horrid murders are by their nature mean spirited, but the same issue with Halloween Kills. There's just no, especially from with a clown in it. There's just no real joy in it that I could really take from it, and it just felt like a string of things that happened.
And like, a string of terrible things, like someone's sawn in half in a very nasty way, and it is a bit like, okay, but you know, who am I backing here in this scenario? Because it seems like the protagonist changes like more than once. And I don't know. I think in terms of like a horror antagonist, it's a weird one because in a way he's not that physically imposing. I know it's not always about the physically imposing antagonists, but I don't know. I just wasn't. I didn't believe it 100%. And sure, kind of creepy and probably like a bit supernatural, maybe. But yeah, I wasn't particularly sold. I will watch Terrifier 2, although I have seen that the running time's 2 hours 15 minutes.
I know. I heard that was a bit long. Well, I'll get to it eventually. It took me this long to get to this one, but yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there one day. Then I watched a fairly new release on Shudder. I watched Moloch.
Oh, okay.
It's a Dutch horror film, a bit of Dutch folk horror. It's set around some peat bogs, you know, where they dig up those old bodies like a Lindoman.
Who's Pete Boggs? Never heard of him.
Yeah, Pete Boggs. That's where Pete Boggs is the one that did in Lindoman. So they're digging up some bodies there. There's a curse. I don't want to spoil it, but there's some horrific visuals. There's some creeping dread across the boggy marshes.
Very nice.
Yeah, really, really well done, really well acted, really enjoyable. Then I watched They/Them, or just They Them.
Oh yeah.
Have you watched that? Yeah.
No, there's another one that I've got like ready to go, pretty much.
weird. It's a strange. There's a strange thing. There's a strange thing about it, and I say this, with full awareness of some of the issues that they touch upon. Obviously, the horrible real life horror of there being still conversion camps that they force people who are, gay or transgender to go to. But I'm in no way qualified to have those experiences or know what that angle is or to see how well it's been created or how well those characters represent the real real people in those situations. The cast are charming. I find it's weird choices for the slasher itself, and it almost feels maybe a little bit backloaded. It feels like there's a murder at the beginning and then a load of stuff happens, some horrible stuff with Kevin Bacon at the wheel, but then the slasher is kind of a non-incident until the last 15 minutes of the movie. So oddly paced, but there's some interesting things to draw from that. Then I watched My Best Friend's Exorcism. Have you seen that yet? I know you were looking forward to it.
I was looking forward to it. I wanted to watch it the night I could on Friday. My daughter is insistent that we watched Hocus Pocus 2 instead. And yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get around to My Best Friend's Exorcism. So ASAP.
Livid. You're like, bloody have
fuming. Yeah. Bloody have them. My Best Friend's Exorcism or Hocus Pocus 2? Hocus Pocus 2. Yeah.
So you're like going, my best friend's exorcism and we order pizza and have ice cream, or Hocus Pocus 2 and we go straight to bed hungry.
Oh yeah, that's
those two things go together. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
So we won't talk about that now. I've seen it though. We'll talk about that when you've seen it.
Well, just give me a yay or nay.
I liked it. It was good. I liked the 80s vibe. I have heard from one or two reviewers that I trust the opinion of. One in particular felt like it didn't quite capture the magic of the book. So I think huge fans of the book might see some of the things they liked not making it into this version. But it's not me. I've not read it. So I just enjoyed it for what it was. I wasn't comparing it to anything.
Very nice.
I
read the book and I remember liking it, but it's not one of those books that I'm so familiar with that. I mean, I did read it, so I should be familiar with it, but you know what I mean. I'm not obsessed with every detail of it, so
you're pretty chill about those things.
Pretty chill, mate. Yeah.
So then I watched The Night House.
Oh yeah,
seen the Night House?
Yeah, and I really like The Night House.
I think I'm just pulling up the name so I can mention properly. Rebecca Hall. Spectacular in this movie. She is so good.
Yeah, she's good anyway.
But she's exceptionally good in this. Just not even the horror stuff in it that happens and the haunting or the taunting by Orid, whatever the mystery thing. I don't want to spoil this one. Is that aside, just the interaction with the other non-spooky characters. There's a scene about 15 minutes into the movie where she's a teacher and she talks to a parent that comes in to have a right old whinge at her. 15 minutes in, and it is an incredible performance. You can feel that conversation. It's got such a genuine delivery to it, and she's fantastic throughout. When she's acting to nothing in quite a lot of the movie, and I enjoyed the mystery of it all. I really enjoyed The Night House. Probably one of my. And I love a silly horror movie, Ben, but it's probably one of my favorite non-silly horror movies that I've seen this year.
Incredibly non-silly.
Not silly at all.
Not silly at all, yeah.
Not silly at all. And then two more to round it off, Ben. I have seen Dracula 3D, aka Dario Argento's Dracula. And I do not believe I hadn't seen this one sooner. My goodness, Dracula is amongst it in this one. I sent a message to you and Luke about it earlier today.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it is a bold choice for a Dracula movie. It doesn't hold anything back for a Dracula movie set in a semi-medieval town and what you normally see, it is so saturated in color, as you would expect from the master of Italian horror himself.
Yeah.
But it is wildly over the top. Dracula transforms into a number of things. He transforms into a wolf and an owl and a load of horrible flies. And one thing you would not guess if I give you several guesses.
A type of animal.
Yes, type of animal. Go on, I'll give you a few guesses. You won't get it.
A duck-billed platypus.
No.
A howling monkey.
Does not turn into howling monkey. I'll give you one more guess.
I don't know. I'm thinking about it so much. He turns into I've forgotten all the animals. Giraffe.
Not a giraffe. Almost as ridiculous as all those things, though. You'll have to.
A beaver.
Yeah, not a beaver.
You're telling me? You're going to tell me?
Do you want to know? Don't want to spoil
Yeah.
the enjoyment of Dracula 3D. At one point, towards the end, and it's the traditional story of Dracula. So Mina Harker is having a little lovely kip, and her dad is watching over her, and he's snoozing in the. Guys, fast forward 10 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled for this piece of cinema. It is on YouTube. The whole film is on YouTube. You can just go and watch it.
Okay.
But her dad is watching over Mina to make sure Dracula doesn't come and spirit her away before Van Helsing, played by Rutger Hauer, can go and save the day.
Oh yeah, of
and
course, yeah.
her dad is having a snooze just at the end of the corridor. He's there, just nodding away down the corridor, and then what should come tearing round the corner, but a giant praying mantis. And I don't mean a giant praying mantis in the sense that it is a giant praying mantis, which is big for a bug, and it's actually about 6 inches tall, unlike the regular 3 inches tall of a praying mantis. It is the size of a man. It is like
That's
Pokemon.
horrible.
The Pokemon Scyther comes around the corner, stabs the dad in the tum, and then chops his head off. And chops his head off. And there's a bit later when like the town have been kind of they've been kind of letting Dracula get on with it because he's paid for the school.
Oh yeah, just like Tory.
Yeah, it's like that basically. He's put some money in for the hospital and he's got a statue outside. So that's right. It's all right if you murder people in this town.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
A couple of people are just talking about being sick of him. So I'm sick of him doing these murders. We've got to do something about it. And he turns up. All these flies come in the window and transform into Dracula. And they go, "Oh, you're talking shit about me. You want to break our pact, do you?" And they go, "Oh no, we don't really." And it's like, "Yeah, just what I thought, cowards." And then you think, "Okay, he's
when he turns into flies, is he just one of the flies, or is he all of the flies?
All of the flies become him. Yeah. And you think, "Oh, okay, he's made his point. He's given the seen Dracula 3000, Ben.
Seen Dracula 3000, yeah.
A little bit about just lived off the royalties of that. Although about it, it's everybody bought Erica Eleniak that pops out the cake and under cheese in it. Captain himself, world's most handsome, and most importantly, rest in peace too soon, as 187 Coolio.
187.
Yeah, his name is 187.
Oh, rest in peace, Coolio. 10 years old.
You know why he's called 187?
Because he's the 187th victim.
That's what his IQ was before he started smoking all that weed. He's a big space stoner, is what he is. Yeah, it's turned into a spoilers for Dracula 3 for quite a lot of it.
Nice.
But he looks like he's having a lovely time. It was very silly, but I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it because I kind of did.
Sounds the same. Sounds like you've had an incredibly chaotic but enjoyable.
Absolute bonanza, and it's
time
just
with the
begun.
movies.
I'm going to finish the Howling series. Got lots to do. What have you been watching, Ben?
Okay.
That many things?
I've not got as many things as that, and I'll rattle through them a bit quicker because I don't have all that much to say about some of them. So, first one, Glorious, the Shudder, like sort of single location cosmic horror, with a guy who's in like a truck stop and then starts talking to somebody in the store next door, and they're potentially like some sort of demigod.
Okay, as you do. You never know you're going to meet these places.
Yeah, there's a glory hole involved. It's pretty, it's pretty nuts. The demigod is voiced by J.K. Simmons. Yeah, I enjoyed this for what it was. It was quite short, and it's definitely worth a watch. The script was quite funny, and there's a twist twist of sorts, which you don't quite see come into yet. That was good. I did watch Hocus Pocus 2, as I mentioned. Hocus Pocus 1, obviously it's just called Hocus Pocus, it's not called Hocus Pocus 1. That would be silly. You don't release films with the intention of thinking, oh, it's going to be a sequel. Well, some people do. It kind of does my head in, the original. Like, I like it, and I understand it is a good film, and it is, like, nostalgic wise, like, enjoyable. It's got loads of stuff in pop culture that's kind of influenced. My sister used to watch it pretty much on repeat. So any even like a frame of it makes me go, oh, not
This
Hocus
again.
Pocus. I could never watch that again. If it was a film that was on TV, I think I would have to turn it off because I just couldn't. And, so I wasn't massively excited about watching this, but, it didn't do that much for me. It didn't get any extra points for being like this sort of nostalgic thing because, yeah, it's kind of ruined for me. Don't know. There were like zero spooky vibes detected. I remember the witches being at least a bit threatening. You know what I mean? They actually did want to kill kids and eat them. That was part of their shtick. Kill kids, eat them, become young. But in this, they kind of paint it as a bit more of a comedy and almost like the witches get, again, not really a spoiler, but the witches kind of get some sort of not comeuppance, the opposite of a comeuppance. They
go downance.
Go downance. But, they get treated like they're with sort of love and respect in a way. Like, oh, you guys, you love each other so much. Yeah, we do. Bit silly for me. Bit like, oh, come on. Horrible.
Is it PC culture gone mad, but can't even kill kids anymore.
Can't even kill kids anymore, for God's sake. Yeah. So for me, no. I rewatched Hellraiser today as well because obviously Hellraiser, the new one, is out this week. Probably going to watch 2 and 3, and then there is a documentary. Yes, I do love a documentary.
Documentary.
What's it called? Leviathan, maybe? Leviathan is a story of Hellraiser 1 and 2, with everybody obviously who was involved in making that. So I'm going to watch that as well.
Is Leviathan that big ghouly thing that's in the Hell dimension in the second one?
I don't know, actually.
It's like a big petrol pump inside the box.
He's got a big petrol pump.
Big fleshy petrol pump thing.
Oh yeah. I can't remember, but maybe. So I'm gonna watch that. And then a non-horror related recommendation. I watched the documentary Dio, Dreamers Never Die last night about the life and career of Ronnie James Dio, metal singer who was obviously in Rainbow. He was in Black Sabbath. He had a great solo career. I mean, kind of it's got like horror fantasy imagery, it's very sort of got that medieval heavy metal vibe. But yeah, great sort of story from loads of people in the industry who knew him. And he's like, as a sort of metal star, rock star, doesn't drink, well, actually he might have drunk, but it was not all about sort of drugs and like the big lifestyle for him. He was all about the music. And that was just really interesting to kind of watch and see, when people were partying, he was off writing top selling albums. So yeah, it was good. It was a good, well-made documentary and completely different to the David Bowie one I watched the week before, which was more like experimental and sort of like art, like an art film. This was a very conventional documentary type, chronicling his life from start to finish, and everybody kind of talking
like a VH1 behind the music.
Exactly, just like that. And I love that stuff. I absolutely love it. I like a horror movie documentary, but as much as I like a horror movie documentary, I also like a music documentary, and about anybody, even if I don't like the musician or the music that they produce, I will watch. But I do like Dio, so that was good. It was good times, and I think it was only like in cinemas for like one day, so I luckily managed to
catch it.
Hell yeah!
I now would love you to come across with like stranger and stranger musical documentaries you've seen. That don't impress me much. The Shania Twain story.
I'd watch it. Oh, so I watched the Gwar documentary, like about the metal band with all the crazy prosthetics, and I think I might have talked about that. I watched that. Yeah, pretty much. Actually, as he could lose their fortune or not, so because that is just I'd have to, because it from the outside and even inside.
On me, jeez.
In the summer, I was always
love it. Love the cinema on a hot summer day. Get
the aircon on full blast, for God's sake. Yeah, haunting.
Haunting is right after dinner of morning, and then you get up in the morning,
Daunting.
That's daunting.
Yeah. Not only have I
Well,
done that, Andy, but I also broke the tap and no water's coming out, so I can't even do the
oh
dishes. They're just
god,
gonna
so
continuously mount up.
that's going to be daunting you anytime now. Ben
Who
hasn't
else?
slept, is what it'd be called.
I have not slept. I can't stop thinking about the dishes. I'd love it if someone smiled at me. That'd be calming to me.
Mostly if they were a plumber. All right, I've come to
Yeah.
fix this up. Hello.
Oh
come
yeah.
in.
It also stars Jessie T, Usher, Kyle Gallner. This has obviously just come out in cinemas. We decided to do it because of the marketing mainly. Well, I think the marketing. Can't remember the last time marketing convinced me to watch a film. I was pretty much had no interest in this film, zero interest. It's very at the bottom.
Favorably to those things.
Okay, so choice reviews. Ty he gave it 3.5. So you're now living in a post-world, and I'm not immune. The thread of trauma interesting at first, but ends up being passes on from person to person. There we go. Oh, and I also should have said 7.0 on IMDb. In general, with respect, I said people free pass. A lot of people seem to be saying it's good. They enjoyed it. It was effective. I think our very own Luke Condor of a K, who isn't here, he's not just been quiet the whole time, but he did manage to see the movie as well, and he mentioned that he thought it could be like one of those new, how did he describe it, like sort of schoolyard playground things that
Yeah, where people do a smile like in class and be like, "Oh, don't do that. It's ever so scary."
Yeah, like the new Candyman, I think he mentioned, which
Yeah,
I think sure the potential for it is there, and you know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of It Follows. I think in terms of a concept that like is pretty much nailed on, like it's perfect. I think it's pretty much perfect in terms of this sort of concept. Felt like for me, Smile felt very derivative of other things like It Follows, and also like like Diet It Follows. It felt like, or so this film's rated 18 as well, and I can't for the
yeah,
life of me work out why. There's maybe one actual genuine moment of like actual bad like violence that we see. I'm not sure there's a throat slit, but it's not the goriest throat slit I've ever seen, and there's some bendy heads and twisty heads and stuff. And also when it gets compared to The Ring, I'm going to talk about the American remake of The Ring as well, because I think what that is it Gore Verbinski who did that one?
I have to like.
I'm pretty sure he does in that movie with obviously Naomi Watts as the lead. Investigate.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like in terms of like an urban legend or something that's happening, a supernatural curse that obviously no one's going to believe you. What's going to happen? The fact that Naomi Watts' character investigates and gets and understands what happened to that gives it so much more weight, and I feel like that in this movie is completely absent. And for me, at least, it felt like it just needed that, because it was almost like, sure, people know about it, but they didn't know what it is or really why it does what it does. But there's a pattern and they identify the pattern. But even with It Follows, in a way, it was like, okay, so what are we going to do to end the cycle, essentially? And sure, I know that this film in the final act does go somewhere where it tries to end the cycle, but it still didn't make me feel like I knew anything more about what this supernatural curse entity was. It kind of just felt like it was there, and sure, getting compared to The Ring, apparently The Grudge as well, in terms of like a curse, I guess, and It Follows. I don't know. It just feels like it's got all the parts there to potentially make it as successful as those films, but for me, and again, felt a bit long. I don't know how you feel about that, but it felt like it could have easily shaved off 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'm straight
And
on with that one, Ben. I saw as soon as I saw the runtime when Karen was saying, "Oh, I'll come with you to this one," but I'm not. So I'm not feeling, not feeling like the most energetic.
nearly
How long
2
is it?
hours.
And I was like, oh, it's a horror movie, Karen. It'll be a
No,
tight
yeah.
85 minutes. And then I looked at it. It's like, oh no, 110.
Oh god. But also, I think I kind of like lost track of what was happening. Like, of course, we're getting when a therapist turned up and smiling. There was honestly a second where I was like, "What's she smiling at then?" Oh yeah, the film.
There's sometimes a little bit that we saw old horrors, which are just
When it does take me out of it, because you see something horrific happen, it's probably ain't real though. Because you constantly think it's a fake out, and you constantly think it's just going to be a dream sequence, and when it is, it's
it is too many. It is a few too many to think that you could have done some more interesting things with the resolution. That as we go through, the other thing, and I'm going to mention this a few times as we go through, my big problem with a lot of films is just sometimes the choices they make for incidental characters. I brought this up when we watched Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. People should be better at their jobs. Like, I just, like, for example, we'll talk about this again when it comes up, but citing incident of the a patient kills herself in front of the therapist who's there in front of her, and this is how the story begins, like the inciting incident in the movie. And then two police detectives come. One of them is important. It's the main character's ex-boyfriend. But the policeman that's with him, who is never in the film again, so we don't have to establish what he is, but an awful man is like, oh, bloody nutcases, bloody lunatics, aren't they? Really, the lunatics taking over the sun, bloody Fruit Loops, bloody Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. These guys are,
Yeah,
and
weird.
And it's like, okay, are you establishing he's a bad, like, because the fact is this guy's a police detective who knows you're interviewing someone who's just seen someone kill themselves, and also that you're in a mental health unit.
He seems like one of those guys who's like along with the police officer for the ride, like he's making a documentary or something. He doesn't seem like a real.
Well, he certainly doesn't seem like someone who's a professional police detective who's probably seen this all and would probably have some degree of sensitivity when interviewing a witness that's just seen someone die. It feels like you brought Uncle Knobhead along for a wedding, and he's like, "Oh, I'll do some japes about this murder you've just seen." Oh, but she was fucking bananas, wasn't she? Yeah, a few spanners,
banana split.
Yeah, so there was that, and then the like even the boss, who was a little bit who was a nice man mostly, but was like, oh, you've seen this murder and then you have attacked that man, so I'm going to make you take a day off because you have been working 80-hour weeks and so on. I was like, whoa. This has happened in
80-hour weeks.
This happened yesterday. So she's been working 80-hour weeks before that. Don't put it on her now. You should have done something about this before.
80-hour weeks. Who's working 80-hour weeks? Jesus.
Oh, this woman
get yourself to a.
And the same. The boyfriend will come to him. I don't know why we had to make him just. I'll make you a bad bloke, I guess.
Yeah, the boyfriend.
You've broken a second glass. Fucking hell.
This actor gets no good role. Well, I say good roles, but no like redeeming roles. He plays what's his name? A-Train in The Boys. old basically the Flash. Who obviously is mostly an asshole. Yeah, don't get anything to work with really.
But yeah, we'll I guess we'll start getting into it blow by blow. But yeah, for me, I found that it didn't. It could have just done a little bit more with its theme and made more of it. The whole thing about trauma and so on, like I feel like it had a good idea to begin with, but it didn't know what to do about that to make it as a message. And we'll come to it when we come to the end, because I think there are things that you could have done that would have defeated the ghost, but would have been a poor message to have about the theme. So I think that's a challenging one.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of a theme, like passing on trauma, like generational trauma as like a genuine physical thing, then sure, that makes sense. But in the same way, it didn't seem like this thing really, it kind of, obviously it did pass on through trauma, but it didn't really make sense or relate to generational trauma in a way. It just happened to stumble across someone who also had experienced generational trauma. And the resolution of it, I think, we'll get into it. Not gonna spoil anything. I think there's some good visuals in the resolution of it. However, if I have to watch one more film that does the she escaped, it's the end, don't worry, everything's fine. No, it's not.
Yeah, don't worry, everyone's actually fucked. Oh no.
If I have to watch one more film, because the thing is, because it happens so much, and because it happens in this way so often. Like, oh, is that all it took? Oh, she's gone to stay in again. Yes, we'll get into it. She's gone to stay in this cabin to face off this ghoulie one on one. Really, in terms of timeline, it takes about 4 minutes for her to kill it. Can't be that easy. Can't be that easy.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are no gasps. Surely you're not with an audience. In 2022, a horror film audience can't be looking at that going, oh, well, thank God she got away from that.
Oh,
Right,
she's done it. That was easy.
we're done. And I know, like, it's difficult to have a happy ending in a horror movie, especially one like this, but can we not do that all the time? Because I feel like that is just of
I don't know. I think, and one more warning: this is a new film. If you don't want to be spoiled for it, we will go through this plot by plot now. About to say something about the end. So spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Last warning. Okay, so the resolution. I think I would have been happier with I don't know. I could have gone with. I would have. I think I preferred. We've won. Have we? Is it gone? Kind of
yeah.
thing. Right? Because I felt like that was in the message as well. But with this as well, are we to assume that any ghost or trauma-based demon is in fact some kind of chess champion or Sherlock Holmes figure that can go, ah, yes, but
Yeah.
if you do that, then I should make that a dream, because then they got the Prince of Persia Sands of Time thing where like the ghost loses and goes, ah, but that's what just might have happened. Let's rewind, and then this time I'll actually win.
Yeah.
Like it feels like having an argument with someone, like with these ghosts are like having an argument with a kid in the playground, and it's like, I've got you. But actually,
Yeah.
for me on a Wednesday, this bench is den. Right. And I've got a force field, so actually,
Oh yeah.
you
Oh
didn't
yeah, I see.
you didn't
I
actually
got it.
tag me. You tagged the force field around, which isn't actually me. So yeah, ipso
It does
facto, I
feel like
win.
that.
Yeah.
But going back to the ring, here's what I love about the ring is what Naomi Watts could have done is just go, bloody hell, been cursed by the ring. Ah, annoying, isn't it? Yeah. But she goes, she goes to the trouble of finding out the story of why that girl was in the tape, and that whatever was this cursed tape that existed anyway, and to essentially like help the spirit of Samara. Yeah,
Samara in the remake, Sadako in the
that's correct. Yeah,
original, right?
to be honest, I'm mainly talking about the remake because I prefer it. But also I think it just does that investigative, still got it wrong, nature of the film so well that sometimes I felt like, oh, is this film going to go in that direction, like of The Ring? No. I mean, it feels like it could, but it's not quite getting there for me. I just wanted to find out more about this supernatural thing. And that's all the stuff that I was always most fascinated about in Blair Witch was the stories that people told and of what the origin of the Blair Witch was. And then I've got some Blair Witch books where I want to know all about the lore. I feel like Smile's got zero lore.
Yeah.
God knows lore. There's lore.
And speaking about people being bad at their jobs, we'll come to it when we talk about the policeman later on and how long it takes him to follow some clues. But shall we begin? Let's talk about this plot wise. So we begin in the days of yore with a little girl looking at her mom all poorly in the bed, and tell you what, Ben, she's taken a lot of medicine, but still looks real poorly.
She's taken a hell of a lot of medicine. You'd think that the more medicine you take, sorry, this is a terrible joke. Don't want to go there. Don't want to go there. More medicine you take, the better you feel. It's not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Fuck yourself up by taking, like, she's taken an overdose in a really erratic way. I don't know how she ended up with all this rubbish about, but she's like, made an orgy of evidence of someone that, like, not like it isn't subtle in this. It doesn't have like she has taken some pills and is dying in bed. She has strewn them about the place. You can't move empty pill bottles and all sorts of rubbish around there.
Has she taken an overdose? Not sure. Oh, well.
I'm not sure. Like, I can't tell because I don't know actually, because there's such an orgy of evidence. It could just been that she spilled a medicine all over the floor because there's lots of random pills everywhere. But either way, joking aside, she's in a bad way. The lady is dying, and there's a little girl kind of looking on in terror.
Yeah.
Flash forward to today, and then here's
some nice some nice cinematography, some nice Dutch angles, some nice kind of. But again, it sounds bad because it looks nice, but it just feels like I've seen this before. I've seen this done a few times. It feels like derivative of other things, but also like a bit of a greatest hits of post It Follows horror, not just like A24 heightened horror, is that what it's called? But also very mainstream,
Yeah,
very mainstream supernatural horror. It feels very derivative of that, including like the smile like logo when it comes up on the screen. It's like flashing, it's like got some horrible, really intense noise that goes alongside it if you're like sensitive to sound in any way. But
yeah,
again, I feel like I've seen that before a few times. That's kind of been used as a way of putting the audience immediately on edge, even from the
yeah.
title card.
Some really heavy motifs in that one, and that visual language that's come from it, which is, I think, where it's going to suffer if you try and maintain and It Follows parallel all the way to, because It Follows is so uniquely done with so many visual and aesthetic choices that are for nothing other than to give it an interesting feel, like the clamshell Kindle and things like that. Like, and
Yeah.
the modern clothes for old cars, and that's it's a really, really strange choice that defies being placed in any other visual style or any particular
Yeah.
perfect time zone or even country. It's really interestingly done, whereas this definitely feels like, kind of, we're going to get that this is contemporary US almost
Yeah.
immediately, right?
Contemporary US, where people are kind of living these sort of lives where it almost feels like a bit of a facade in a way, doesn't it? It's like, sure, I know people live these sort of kind of perfect suburban lives and stuff, but I don't know. It felt um very forced for me in terms of like, who am I supposed to be caring about? Oh, right, she's got a sister and a boyfriend who are both kind of dickheads.
Yeah,
Okay.
both immediately try to, like, both immediately the worst people. And I say, okay, so if you kill them off later, then that'll serve
Mm.
them right, because your sister's incredibly busy. I guess that's a little bit later because it's after there's been horrible murder that happens. At first, we see our main character.
Mm.
We know that she works super hard because she goes in and she. This is another challenge, I guess. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to be too negative about this, but the beginning is, it's almost like you're a mythical doctor who can deal with this troubled man. There is a guy who has it looks like a some kind of mental disorder that comes with manic episodes, and he's chanting in an obsessive sense about everyone's going to die. I was like, is that really route one, or really route one kind of
Yeah.
portrayal of a mental health problem? Um,
Yeah, and I mean the fact that just walking into yeah, it felt derivative of other films, but almost like derivative of this sort of um mental disorder and perhaps how it's treated. Not that I know how how things work in the US, like in terms of the
I mean, one thing I can say, I can't say about the US and the insurance system, and they talk about that a little bit later on. But one thing I can tell you is that people who absolutely know about how to manage people's symptoms day to day, not medical certainly, but I think it put me on, maybe it got itself some bad press from me certainly at the beginning, because the our main character comes in here. What's her name, Ben? Sorry, this is one of these films that you watch and you never really
her
register.
name is Dr. Rose Cotter.
Rose, that's it, Rose. So
Yeah.
Rose comes in, and this the healthcare assistant that's in there, the person who's been looking after this guy the time, was like, "Oh, he won't stop doing this. Oh, I don't even know what to do." But like, healthcare
Yeah.
assistants who are working with patients day in and day out have
Even there,
probably a
yeah.
better awareness of how to deal with day-to-day things, and probably know that person, because if he's
Yeah.
an inpatient, probably spend hours upon hours of days and nights with this man.
They even
Not
mentioned
the not the
that he's
yeah
there a lot.
yeah that he's
He's an
there a
in
lot. So not the 15 minutes at a time the doctor might spend with him. So like poor representation there. But then she comes in, and then she has the dynamic idea of moving her chair next to him and then saying, "You're right." And that seems to settle him, and he goes off to
Not everyone's gonna die. Oh, I didn't think of it like that.
Oh, now you've reassured me of that factor. I guess I'll go about my life. So he goes to a side room, and then she is about to go because she's been on there since the late shift last night. She works too hard. But then one more call comes in, and this time it's a woman.
It's a woman. It's a woman called Laura Weaver, and I think we see like an aerial shot of her being brought into the hospital again, like tied to a gurney, kicking and screaming. Again, is that a bit too on the nose for a representation of somebody who would suffer?
Yeah,
with I mean, and clearly this is like the first occasion of this as well, because obviously it's quite unique what she's suffering with that we come to find out. So to have her sort of it's kind of just didn't felt a bit too on the nose for me.
Yeah, and she comes in, and then also, if you're ever crazy in a film or not crazy, but people think you are crazy, I find that the most triggering behavior is if you suspect someone is implying that you're crazy, you absolutely lose it.
I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah, literally
Oh,
lose it. If someone even suggests that you might be crazy, you have to go straight to 11. You go, right, this is going to sound crazy. But there's a horrible ghoulie that's chasing me and is trying to do me in. It says I'm going to die pretty soon, actually. So you want to help us? Actually, okay. Now I know you think that don't imply that I'm crazy because I will lose my shit. You dig that? And she does. She is afraid. She is really irate. She's shouting because she thinks Rose thinks she's crazy, and then she has a scream and goes out to the corner. Rose goes and
so I think sorry, Andy. Initially, she does explain that she saw her professor commit suicide, and that since then there is like something that's following her. And obviously Rose is doing the classic, like, is it here with us now? She's obviously trying to see it from a medical standpoint as of this person having these delusions. There's this entity that follows me, pretends to be other people, and it's always smiling at me, the worst smile I've ever seen, that sort of thing. Then she panics, sort of goes back into the corner as if she can see something or someone there. And that is when Rose goes to the phone to try and like call for help in this instance. And then turns around and Laura is just standing staring at her, smiling a smile,
doing a big old smile.
big old grin.
Yeah, we talked about flipping it up. I'd have possibly, if I'd have kept Rose as my person who I wanted to finish on, I maybe would have spent more time with the student instead. I would have started. I'd have tightened it up a little bit. I'd have had 20 minutes, half an hour with the student, and then carried on from there.
Definitely. So, maybe you thought the initial the opening scene was a student, and then it turns out no, it's not. It was Rose after all. Yeah. Nice little twist on that. But yeah, it feels like it just goes through these beats in kind of like a breakneck speed, and never ever really giving enough. Like as a horror film, sure there are jump scares, sure there are moments of tension, but I feel like it kind of just pinballs around these moments of like, oh shit, look what it is. Oh no, that's a dream sequence. Oh, this is terrifying, without really letting you come to terms with the nature of what this thing is, and also the nature of any of these characters. Sure, they've experienced trauma, they've experienced someone committing suicide in front of them. Must be terrible. Can't even imagine what that must be like to see that and witness that. Feels like no one else seems to understand either. Seems like when Rose is kind of telling everybody, her family or therapist, that somebody killed themselves in front of her, slit her throat while smiling, which is what she does, obviously.
Everyone's like, yeah, I've had a hard day too.
I've had a hard day too. Oh, I caught my finger in the door. All right, you ever done that? Horrible.
I'll tell you, like the boyfriend gets home and goes, oh, I tell you what, I was double booked. Didn't know what I was going to do. Which of these calls am I going to cancel? Can't make them both.
And he still says to her, "Are we going to out for a meal?"
Yeah. Oh, do we go out?
I know you saw someone slice their throat open, and that must be pretty terrible. But I'm absolutely gasping for a bit of ragu.
Yeah. Oh, I could. Oh, come on, this is my favorite on the carbonara.
Outside as well. They sit outside. What is it fully booked inside? Apparently, it's been booked for weeks. This meal. Who's
Just
booking outside? She's wrapped up in a coat.
yeah,
Up
just
to
with your sister and Greg.
Greg. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I feel like we're skipping over what
So
happens.
yeah, we see. So she slashes her throat. Um, and again, you say, Ben, you're right. It says 18, but you see a little bit of cut, and then we pan away. It doesn't dwell on it that
You've
long.
got so much opportunity with an 18 to essentially show whatever the hell you want in terms of over the top gore. And as we're saying, obviously we get a throat slit and we get some stabbing later, but that's like kind of it.
I tell you what, like maybe this was the issue. I watched Moloch before I saw this. If you want to
Pollock.
watch, if you want to watch Moloch on Shudder, makes this look like baby's first throat slit.
Baby's
This is
first throat
this
slit.
is this is Fisher Price throat slit we got here. Versus what we have, but like in real life, it's
I
a
didn't
pretty
even know what she was cutting her throat with. I thought it was like a guitar plectrum.
yeah, a big
I was,
a big Fisher Price guitar plectrum. I
I was
think
like,
it's
what's
a
she using?
bit of Duplo from the toy box in the waiting room. Um, it's not. I think it's a bit because when she barrels over the table, running away from horrible
It's
Ghoulie,
a Fox's
she
Glacier Mint.
she smashes a little vase, so it's a bit of
Uh,
vase.
bit of ours. Would you have a vase in there in a room where people who might have some level of physical outburst would come into? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, would you be as traumatized if she'd choked herself to death on a fox's glacium and shoved loads of
Yeah,
marshmallows into her mouth until she couldn't breathe?
that'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be pretty intense. Glacier
swallowed a
mints
Mars
are
bar whole.
dangerous, though. When you go to bite it, to swallow the Mars bar whole. Jesus, I'll be impressed by that, if anything. Who are you, Anaconda? Uh, Anaconda. So obviously after the suicide, Rose
Meets that policeman who's bad
meets
at
a
his job.
policeman.
He
Policeman
goes,
who's bad at his job, and then her ex-boyfriend policeman. I didn't realize it was her ex-boyfriend in the scene. I don't think it really tells you. Played by Kyle Gallner, who we saw get killed by Ghostface in the latest Scream movie that came out
did we?
earlier this year. Yeah, he got killed, and obviously he's in Jennifer's Body as well. So a little bit of a horror. Oh, and he's in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
There you
So,
go. He's been
and The Haunting in Connecticut. He's one of those guys who loves a horror movie.
copping it to all of these baddies.
Copping it.
Yeah, he's nice and just I think what the detective who's bad at his job guy doesn't care about his job anymore. It's like, oh fucking hell, right. Must have been one of these fruit cakes. I don't call them that. Like, yeah, so it's him.
Couple of sandwiches, sort of a picnic, these lot, aren't they?
Look at this, really. This one's bulb's not screwed in properly, is it? This one, oi, this one's a few hose pipes short of a garden centre, isn't he? No, stop. Yeah. So this they come and she's traumatized by it all, having seen someone kill themselves. They mentioned that she herself was involved in another incident the week before where her professor bashed his own head in with a hammer.
Yeah. And you're just
Um,
like, okay, well, there's automatically some sort of pattern there. It feels like they go to, again, sorry, we're flying all over the place. They go too far with the pattern. I think it's one person, fine. As soon as you find out it happened again previous to that, you're right, okay, there's the pattern. I need to do no more investigating. There's a pattern of 3. That's all I need to know.
Or you've got the idea. That's what I was going to tell you later on. When they get round to investigating it, they go, okay, so I found out that there was someone before that professor. Okay, brilliant. Then we work with the police, and they're like, look at this other one for me. They go, oh, tell you what, she also witnessed a suicide. And then, what do you want me to do now? Maybe you could continue that chain.
Yeah.
And it's only like later when it's like, I'll tell you what, I carried on that chain later after you were gone. It took me a while, so it came to me 3 days later.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, when you're looking it up, let's have a look at the crime scene photos. Whoa, bloody hell.
Yeah, they're sitting watching rotten.com, watching like
yeah, pretty much.
all these various people, but doing like the kind of deaths you see on Mark Wahlberg vehicle, The Happening, where it's just people who are just incidentally just going mad one day, like chopping
Smooshing
themselves
themselves.
with some garden shears or putting
Yeah.
their face into a lawnmower.
Bludgeoned himself to death with a hammer. Oh, bloody hell.
Um,
How can it like? How many times did it take before you go into shock and you just drop the hammer?
I guess, as we learn later, possessed by a ghoulie, it doesn't matter. Probably just bash you in.
Yeah, bloody weird.
So she goes home, and then we get like,
Oh no, so I think she sees. Didn't she see the bloke first smiling at her? Was that another time?
oh, that's later. That's after
Oh, okay, I got you. So
that's
she
after
goes.
she gets sent home. She goes
So she
home.
goes in the darkest house known to man. Right. Not only have they got like 2 lamps on, the bulbs are like 4 watts.
Yeah,
And
really, really, really dark bulbs, and they just think, so I'll tell you what, I've had our day. I'll have a glass of wine in the dark.
I have a glass of wine in the dark and watch something on my laptop with my headphones on, with the sound on full. Anyone can come in and do what they want to me. It's fine. Really weird way of drinking wine as well. If you notice this, every time she poured a glass of wine, I was like, is that all?
Yeah, she does this later on when she goes, oh, I'll tell you what, I've had a glass of wine while I was doing some research on my laptop. I could just do with just a Sousson more, a little shot of wine, please.
She was drinking it like one would drink liquor, like one would drink a lovely 18-year-old
Yeah.
whiskey, oak aged. She's like pouring out a little bit of white Zinfandel into a glass and just going, the aroma.
Just I tell you what, I couldn't possibly have too much. It's a work night, so I'll have just a snifter of Chateau Neuf to pat
That's
this
a
evening.
Swifter. It's like she's doing a tasting session.
Yeah.
That's how much you get when you do a tasting session with the little spittoon in the middle of the table. Oh, what's this? A lovely bit. Yeah, because everyone's on the clock. We can't be drinking.
Yeah,
Gotta drive home.
I'll have a glass of the Pinot, please. But yeah, she's just at home having a bit of Yellow Label, a bit of Yellowtail, a bottle of Nine Crimes that she's having a
Wait.
snifter of, and then she sees in the corner of the kitchen spooky
Now-
face.
Yeah, sorry. Just before you said that. Now these things are effective. Now I think these things are effective, especially in a cinema, because it's the perfect environment to just be like, "What's that? Oh, that's
There's
creepy looking."
something horrible behind that she hasn't seen.
And it reminded me of like, it's a bit like Lights Out, isn't it? Where like that is an effective kind of like thing, or like Hereditary, for example, when up in the corner, like, well, maybe I haven't quite seen it. You see like a whole room, and then you're supposed to like pick out what is the scary bit, or the ghosts in Haunted Hill House. That's good. However, turn a light on in this house. It's a lovely, lovely gaff, lovely crib.
Lovely townhouse. These guys aren't worried about energy bills. Look at this. Look at this empty space.
Just turn a light on. I mean, for me, if I'm just going about my business, having a drink, doing other things, I like the light to be on, right? If I'm relaxing and getting ready to watch something on TV, read a book, chill out for a bit, sure, I'll have not many lights on. But this is ridiculous. You'd be going to bed at 9 p.m. in that house.
Yeah, when you've just got in from work and you need like a little glug of the house white just to get you out there, then you put a light on in that kitchen.
Yeah, it's weird. Don't let the light from the refrigerator like illuminate your drinking habits. Do you know what I mean? I always feel you always feel a bit sketchy when you go to the fridge, even if you go into the fridge for like, I don't know, something dodgy, bit of leftover Scotch egg.
Yeah, got that lemon meringue pie the other day.
You feel a little bit like Gollum opening the fridge, and just the light from the fridge lighting you up. You're like, oh yes. I just imagine, especially if I'm in a state of undress, I imagine somebody just walking past my house at the moment when they see the little illuminated me just there eating grated cheese out the bag.
Yeah, eating grated cheese out the bag. You feel like they're going to be someone's walking on the kids because here. Look at that disgusting man in his house. Look at him.
Do you if you don't do your own work and eat your vegetables,
you end up just like a horrible man.
You'll end up just like that horrible man. And I go, what?
Yeah.
And then shake my fist outside the front door.
They walk all the way home. Oh, I tell you what, Betty lives alone. No, I don't. Don't please.
Please don't. I've got a loving family now.
Then you wake up and it was only a dream. Oh, thank you.
It was all only a dream.
But it isn't a dream for her. Well, I guess it is. There's a ghoulie face that the student that slit her throat was there, sort of smiling at her, and it makes a jump, but actually it's just A Train coming home.
Yeah.
And
So it makes you
making a
jump,
drop a
but
glass.
these moments in horror films where you're like, you see something terrible, but then someone you love walks in and you go, oh, thank God you're here. I thought I saw something horrible. It's like, no, you definitely saw something horrible. There definitely was a face of a person right there just then. Don't just brush it under the carpet.
It's
Come on.
also it's the fallacy of these horror movies that people don't talk about what's going on. So, she does explain that the patient died, but she should say like, actually, patient died horrifically today, and like I'm obviously really tired because I thought like I was picturing her over
Yeah.
there actually.
Like you talk about these things, of course, especially with your loved ones.
And
And she
it's like,
smashes a glass. Again, this film is a fan of jump scares from things that aren't like essentially scary. There's loud noises. So like people drop glasses. There's a moment where like she's opening a tin for the cat, and that's like a bit of a jumpy moment because it's quiet and the sun is like, shoo! Oh,
open a
fuck
tin.
it. Open a tin. There's loads of like real world jump scares just from the sound design in this.
Yeah, there is one effective one that's coming up in a little bit, but it's not yet. And then A Train goes, "Oh, should we just have beans and waffles and go to bed tonight?" He goes, "No, let's go out. My sister's
Turkey
gonna,
dinosaurs.
my sister's going to be." I mean, we do find out that she's hard work in a minute, but like straight away they're negative on the sister because, oh no, she'll be a real bitch if we don't go and see her.
Yeah.
And they're going out there and they are awful. She's like, oh, between my son, little baby Bill Gates, that we don't meet for a little bit, but if baby Bill Gates doesn't go to computer club and then football practice, and my life's so busy, I gotta go. I've got activities upwards of 3 nights of the
Yeah.
week.
Bloody hell. It's like you signed up for it when you had a kid, all right?
Yeah.
It's like
And
those memes you see where it's like, oh, tired are you? Have a kid and then come back to me and I'll tell you what's really tired. And it's like, oh, what? So you feel like you got some responsibility? You're hoarding all of the misery just because you had a kid. All right. There's misery for us all to go around. All right. It don't matter if you had a kid or not.
yeah, miserable life's miserable enough for everyone, thanks. So you know what you say, oh, you're gonna talk about tired, look at your sense of humor, and then then talk to me about that. But you say to them, oh,
You're looking
dude.
absolutely haggard.
Yeah,
Absolutely haggard. But yeah,
yeah.
this couple, the sister and the husband, Greg, they're like very money orientated. There's like I think they talk about her job at some point. Oh, she'd do her job because she loves it, and they're like,
Why don't you go into bloody private practice and be rich? The true horrors of the American healthcare system is what I say to you, Ben. I'm like, nah.
yeah, and it does get touched upon, but
But
yeah,
she's like, I'm good actually, because I would do my job for free.
mm.
Um, that's what A Train happens to say. And then she keeps pushing it and going, oh, do you want to just sell mom's house? It's freaking shithole anyway. And she's like, you just shut up, Greg. And my sister.
Shut up, Greg. And again, we got to mention this. They're outside. Looks bloody freezing. Like their hair's blown in the wind. Rose has got like a chunky knit or some sort of coat on wrapped around. And apparently it's a nice restaurant they've had booked for a long time. Well, just get yourself inside.
Well, ask them to put the patio heaters on. There's big fires, all those big.
Oh yeah, the patio heaters.
All those big red lights that you can put on when you're outside in inclement weather.
Yeah,
feels like you're a rotisserie chicken.
Feels just like that. I feel a little bit like I might be cooking or getting a tan, getting quite a big...
put the heat lamp on like you're a lizard. They swap out your chairs at the table for just big rocks that you can sit on.
Yeah.
You can bask for a few seconds. Sit there with your mouth open. But
yeah, so what happens next? So then Rose goes back to work, straight back into proceedings. I mean, I don't know if they do that, would they? Like the next day,
straight back to work, and then this is where she sees the man who she cured with her amazing medical skills the day before. He's sitting there. He's sitting there in the room doing some smiling, and then she pops in and goes, "You're right, whatever your name is. You're right, Bill." And he goes, "You're gonna die," which is a bit like what he said. Yeah, a bit like his catchphrase from yesterday when he's like, "Oh, everyone's gonna die." And then he was
a
like,
bit more sinister with it now, right?
it's like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you are gonna. It's like he's practicing the line read. It's like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you are gonna die, you are going to die, you are going to die.
Now deliver it again, but hungry.
Yeah. Oof.
You're gonna die. I think. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
do it again, but you've only had 4 hours sleep.
And then you're a tiger. And it's like, you're gonna die, and then he really
As a
goes.
tiger.
Yeah, and he goes at her. He gets a bit close, and she kind of basically pulls like a Roman emperor on him. She like claps her hands and goes like, seize him. And then
Yeah.
like some like big boys come in like, oi, 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 and they're like,
right, that's it. Kick his head in. What was he doing? Don't know.
he was telling me I'm gonna die. Right, thump him, strap him to the bed, and like so, and he's like, no, please. he's like going like, he's obviously incredibly upset because this is the first instance of she's must have hallucinated. Like, can you imagine? Like, I feel like we should have established that a little bit more and watched it back when for her to get suspended effectively or sent off home because she's traumatized. Because I think the implication is that it didn't happen. Like, he was just sitting there minding his own business. I would have kind of liked another take of that where he was just sitting there in the room like, oh, actually, doctor, I feel quite well. I think I will be all right to go. What? She just comes in and like sees that man, get him.
Comes in and batters him.
Yeah. So the boss says, well, you've been obviously working too hard. You did see a woman kill herself yesterday, so why don't you have a week off? In fact, full pay, of course.
Oh yeah,
full pay, of course. But make sure whatever you do, make sure you don't keep this to yourself. Do tell your friends and family that you're traumatized. Don't just go home and not do anything about it. And she goes, all right, I will.
Yeah, that would be silly.
And then I
will.
Her ex-boyfriend is there. He's popped in. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Thought I would just come in and see if you're right, because obviously a bit unexpected yesterday. And she's like, rude to him and like go, yeah, I get it. Your ex hasn't got a right to turn you, but he doesn't seem like one of those pushy ex characters that you get in these films. He feels like he came in, felt a bit awkward that I didn't say hello properly. So I'm just coming to see if you're right because you did see a woman almost chop her own head off yesterday. And she's like,
yeah.
But
she does treat him like he's a pushy ex, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Pretty much. She treats him a bit shitty, which is why later when he's so keen to help her and she like forces her way into his house, essentially, I'm a bit like, hang on, she was pretty shitty with you.
Yeah. I'd have said, oh, actually, I'm really busy.
I'm really busy. Got things on. I'm in here. I've got a family size lasagna that I was tucking into. All right. And then I was gonna watch Married at First Sight for the rest of the evening. So you're ruining my evening.
I'm just gonna watch maths. Yeah. So I mean, this country maths or Australian maths?
Is Australian better?
In our household, Ben, I've seen Aussie maths. I haven't seen.
I'll be totally honest. I've only ever seen clips of both. So I've never actually watched a full episode, but maybe I should.
I love those Bogan sweethearts. Yeah. Yeah. Real life horrors, but yeah. So, I mean, if it wasn't bad enough being binned off from work for a week, now that she's not working, she is now available to go to a nephew's birthday party. Oh no!
Oh yeah, because earlier she was getting shit for not going. Yeah, because it rings her up. Can you come to the birthday party? No, I can't. Busy. I'm working. I got a really, stressful, intense job. Well, you could at least get him a birthday present then. Well, I was going to. For fuck's sake, he likes model trains.
You could at least get him this specific. In the year of our Lord 2022, Ben, is there a 7-year-old that fucking loves a train?
I mean, a dweeb, and he looks like a bit of a dweeb. No disrespect to anyone who enjoys trains.
It's baby Bill Gates. It's the Stuart Little boy, isn't he?
Yeah, Stuart Little boy. He deserves a... Again, this film is 18, right? They could have gone in on some gruesome animal horror, animal gore here, couldn't they?
That's rude though, because she doesn't get to the party yet. At first, she's getting home, and she's like, "Oh, I'll tell you what, I better wrap up his train then." And then
in the dark.
Yeah, better wrap up his train in the dark. And then boyfriend gets home. She drops another. Oh no! This is when the burglar alarm goes off.
Yeah, that burglar alarm's proper annoying, isn't it?
Burglar alarm's really loud. She goes to turn the burglar alarm off, and then the security company phones her up and says, "All right, what's the password? Acapulco." Oh, thanks. You know what? It's called.
Going loco.
Yeah, and she's going loco.
She's
I'm not
going
crazy.
loco.
I ain't. Don't you
So,
dare
but
stand
again,
crazy.
like even that instant is all like in her head as well, isn't it? Of her like
Yeah, because
turning off the.
the security system goes off and she then just gets the phone call. I did find this bit quite effective. I'll give it props for this one, where the person on the phone goes, "Have you checked that?" And it goes from very benign, and it's like, "Okay, yeah, it's me, the
Yeah,
security company. It's fine. Are you sure no one's in the house?" Though, and she's like, "You what?" I said, "Oh, go on. Has a little look behind you." And
that's a
it
little look behind you.
and
Yeah,
it does dwell on it for a bit because we come up right behind her, and it's like, "Oh, you're gonna look around. There's gonna be a smiler. There's gonna be a little ghoulie." And then actually she turns around and the hallucination ends, and it's
yeah.
the alarm actually going off.
Hmm.
And she
Yeah,
calls.
again, I mean, like, just again, no real world consequences. Again, when there's ample opportunity to just do as much crazy, scary shit as they want in this house, but oh, it's all in her head. It's like, well, the smile thing, like, there's a physical representation of it, and sure, they say a lot of it's maybe a hallucination in a way because that only you can see it, nobody else can. But I don't know, just kind of that fake out thing. Every time I'm just like shrugging. I ain't scared of it.
Yeah.
I find it funny, not scary.
That's me actually. I found it pretty funny. Yeah. Yes, she gets scared by that, and she drops a bloody another glass. That's when she has like a little, just having a bit more wine. She goes, "Oh, I'll tell you what, just not a little drop more." Um, drops the bottle, not the drop, drops the glass on the floor. Um, come home, boyfriend's like, "You dropped the glass." Sake.
You dropped another glass. We've only got two, one each. That's how many we need. All right, there's only two of us in the house.
That's
What are
all
you on
I've
about?
that's all I've got in.
Now we got none.
IKEA's out of town. It's going to take me ages to go and get some more. So he gets back. She doesn't mention that she's off work.
No, no, she doesn't. She doesn't kind of just go, "Oh yeah, I got some bloody time off." You never guess what? No, she doesn't. And this is where like their relationship's already like becoming strained, I guess. At this stage, is
Oh,
there
he's pissed off about his glasses.
pissed off about his glasses? Um, is it round about now that there was there a scare when she was on the laptop? Is that I think that's after
This
this, isn't it?
this is a bit after that one, I think, but we might as well touch on it because again, this is the peril of seeing a film that's
This is
new at
the
the
sort of
cinema. You
thing, yeah.
can't take your notes, but this is when she's like, "Oh, I'll do a little bit more research now." Um, and she's up late that night doing some research. The cat's gone missing, so she's a bit stressed. And she's up doing some research, and she finds, for some reason, she's got the audio files of the time of that murder. And she goes like, "Hey, hey, Laura, don't kill yourself." And then she sees like there's a little subtext to the little underline in the audio file. There's another little ripple of sound files, and she's like, "Have a listen to that." And it's like,
Yeah.
"You what?" Presses the "you what" button, and it's like, press it again. Goes freaking loads of times, and then the time to do it, and it was effective because as an audience member, I was like Hulk Hogan. I was like craning
Yeah.
here, having a little listen, and
Yeah.
and then like the last time she goes, "Okay, one more time." Jump scare! And it's like, what the
It
like a
was
big.
effective, but I feel like you put that in any film. You put that in Shrek 2. If there's a moment where trying to listen to something, it would make me jump. I mean, the fact that there's like the girl does sort of come in from the side at her, and
Is it
that's a bit.
it all happens so fast. Is it her
It
mom?
does.
Is it the
I don't know.
is it the girl she saw kill herself? Is it it's probably actually the we don't see him till later, but we're going to talk about the whole thing. Is it in fact the big stringy haired ghoulie man that we get at the end?
Yeah, I don't
Is it
know.
is it
Some
twisted
form
is it twisted sister himself?
some form of it maybe. Marguerite from Resident Evil 7. Some form of it, possibly, but I couldn't confirm or deny that in that moment.
Yeah, so basically she's listening to it, and then like she listens to the thing, and then the last time, I don't even know what the ghoulie says. Boom shakalaka just turns up. It goes, boom shakalaka, rude boy. And
He
he's like, what?
says, "You never bloody guess what?" Yeah, scares the crap out of her.
And she goes, boom in her ear, and then she falls over and again gets jump scared. As do we all. And
isn't I think so? The next scene is at the birthday party, right?
Yeah.
So she's gone to the birthday party. Her sister Holly's like, "Oh my god, you made it! Yeah, I got a day off." So again, she's not sharing the fact of what's happened has affected her, and she's off of work. She's carrying that trauma with her like a burden, and of course, there's a metaphor there between she's carrying the trauma, and in a way, she's carrying that curse of the trauma as well around with her. But so far, this is what I'm getting at. She's being followed by this smiley thing, but she's only really seen 2 people ever having a smile so far, right? I wanted it at every turn, and now obviously we do get a setup for the next one. So we knew that something was going to be wrong because we didn't see her finish wrapping the present. So we knew, and obviously they put the little breadcrumbs in there with the cat mustache is missing.
Is missing. He's gone out.
The
and again,
cat
I wouldn't have been going.
Dash and has gone off somewhere.
I wouldn't be going to some kid's birthday party if one of my pets was missing.
No, I don't think you would you? But no one seems to truly care.
Especially if I didn't want to go. I'd be like,
perfect excuse.
Yeah. To be honest, the cat, I could wake up in the morning and the cat could look a bit peaky and go, I'm not sure he's right. I can't come to this party I don't want to go to.
Don't think I will. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm expecting a phone call. Yeah, I know it's on mobile, but I don't want to be at a kid's party. What if I miss it?
What if I miss it? What if I can't hear what's being said? It'd be awkward for everybody involved. Yeah.
Oh, like I'm listening. Oh, I've been waiting for this song I really like to come on the radio.
I can't wait for it.
S Club's got a new one out. I've requested it on the box. I don't want to leave now.
S Club 3. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, what happens is. So automatically it's annoying because one of the people at the party is like, "Oh, you're a therapist, are you? Let me ask you advice about something." "Oh, don't never cross business and pleasure together. Come on." That would be annoying, wouldn't it? Or it'd probably pretty tempting if you didn't know a therapist, but still pretty nuts. And something's gone wrong, and there is that tension of we see the present get put into a pile, and when the little boy, whose name is Little Boy,
he looks like a hunter or something along those lines. Or a Liam. Yeah. So little baby Bill Gates opens up.
So just before this, we've established that Sister Holly, they've got a strained relationship because they had like an abusive or negligent mother. But I think Holly says that she received the worst of it because she was older, so she
so she had to kind of leave the house. I know it was bad that you were left alone with her, but I actually had it worse because I was older, so I had to leave the house all the time. And I know it was traumatizing that you found her when she died, but
yeah, I
had to leave, and I guess it's the different approach to trauma. She's like, I can't let it be my entire life, so I have to get on and do other stuff.
Yeah, and with some people, like, they have to do that to escape it. Other people do carry it around like that, and kind of, I'm not saying it's particularly healthy, because obviously you do have to address these issues. But some people do kind of like the way of their way of coping is kind of making everything they do, a fuck you to that trauma they experienced, or maybe like just thinking that they're more than that trauma, or maybe sometimes feeling overwhelmed by that trauma as well.
Yeah, or you pick something that you are going to do with your life and you are absolutely fixated on that thing, right? So you're not going to almost give that the oxygen and the time of thinking about it.
So is that what you're saying that Rose does with her job, essentially? That's why she's working 80-hour weeks. That's why she never sees her fiance, because she is burying that trauma down, essentially.
Yeah, or trying to basically overcome it by the line of work she's taken even.
Yeah.
But little boy opens his present, and you'll never guess what. It's a Percy, not a Thomas. He's fucking livid. It's not. It's a
absolutely fuming.
It's not a little pussy cat.
It's a dead cat, and again, it just looks like a cuddly toy. It doesn't look very good at all. Why does he take it out of the box? You'd open it, see that it's like a dead cat, and go, "What the fuck?" You would not, because quite hefty, quite heavy, quite a big cat, but also I imagine it's quite weighty in its stage of rigor mortis as well. But as he picks it up again, there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no confirmation really this cat's even actually dead until Rose runs over and goes like, "Oh my god, Mustache, what happened?" And of course everyone then thinks she is officially lost her mind.
And the friend that who was asking advice later on is a ghoulie now, sitting there doing a smile.
Sitting there doing a smile, yeah. This is what I don't understand, right? So what is the end goal of this ghoulie smile thing, right? Because it seems to want to get the person it's haunting to kill themselves in front of someone else so it can then carry on, right?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
it would seem kill them in front of exactly one other person. So just
Exactly,
one
one other
person.
person, exactly. So it's not going to kill you in a room full of people. It's not going to kill you when you're on your own with it, because is it?
No.
So, but this is never addressed, right? Something that, for example, with It Follows, they go, right, does it just follow you constantly throughout? Okay, how can we kind of like get one over on it, or how can we try and beat it, or like break the chain? And also, what if we go really far away? How long will it take to get here? Oh, ages. That's right, yeah. There's none of that. There's none of like, how can I physically like get away from it? Or what are the rules? What are the patterns that this sort of comes alongside it? How can I beat it in a way what isn't just going, oh, just gonna go into a cabin and just, I don't know, fight it?
Have a chat for a bit, do a plan.
Have a chat for a bit. It seems like there's no, as I said, I mentioned the lack of lore. It feels like in terms of the world building, the rules, the lore, there's so little of that that I just can't. I mean, for me, I just couldn't get on board with it.
It's all dived into this initial trauma and just the incidental moment to moment pieces. Because in the end of this thing, so she's got the body of Mustache, and she's going, "Oh no, please believe me, I didn't kill this cat," and wrap it up as a present. I mean, well, it's a pretty hard sell to
I
think
don't
that you
know.
couldn't do that. And
Yeah.
then she sees the ghost and screams at it, and then, but he home alone's through a table.
Oh yeah, she does Home Alone for a table. Yeah,
She gets
Home Alone's for. I
effectively.
mean,
She like
I mean, this is pretty effective in terms of like when she sits up and just screams with like all of her arms like lacerated.
oh yeah,
That's pretty effective as like, oh Jesus Christ, fucking hell, it's really has gone downhill.
upstaging that kid. All the kids are upset at the party, and then she's like, "I tell
He's
you what,
like, I'm fine. I wanted a dead cat.
I'll show you
I'm
things.
fine with it.
I'll show you how the adults cry." Smash myself through a table and literally just like lose your mind,
Front flip through a
screaming.
table.
I feel like they wouldn't have let her out of that hospital.
No. Yeah, so she goes to the hospital and it seems like, yeah, it's like a real bad sort of mental breakdown, you would say. Her husband doesn't even really mention the cat until like on the drive home. He goes, "Did you kill the cat as well?" Like I mean, that
Yeah,
would be a very key element to the whole
and
scenario, I
she
feel like.
confides in him on the way home because they let her out of hospital immediately. The boss comes in and says, "You all right? Because what going on? Do you need to see someone?" She goes, "But he shan't. She's already been to see her own therapist earlier on." And
She's only
then
been to see her own therapist, who is like £1,000 an hour.
a
And
thousand
like,
£1,000 an hour, and it feels like if you could have got Gillian Anderson for this film, this is where you would have
yeah,
cast her.
I would have
Um,
recognized her actually.
yes, I don't know who it is that plays the therapist.
It's Robin Veigert, who is in anything I recognize. Don't know. Well, she's in maybe a TV show. I kind of recognize her face. She's in loads of stuff like Law and Order, Grey's Anatomy, loads of like TV shows, Castle Rock, Deadwood,
Okay,
American Horror Story,
so classic like horror TV
horror
mostly,
TV. Yeah,
right?
not so much movies, but
Um,
TV. Yeah.
so she's been to see her. She immediately has gone, "Oh, couldn't give us some medicine, could you, for not seeing ghost medicine?" And she said, "No, I can't do that. We can have some sessions though."
We can have some
Um,
sessions. We can have some weekly sessions. Oh, for God's sake!
um,
I really, really want some medicine.
I'd love to immediately go into drug-seeking behavior to try and fix the fact I've got a ghost after me. But after she comes out of the hospital, she does speak to her boyfriend, A-Train, and says, now, this is going to sound crazy. Don't imply that I'm crazy because I will lose it if you do that. But there is a rotten ghosty after me and there's something going on here. And he immediately doesn't believe her because, and I Googled being crazy like your mom. And she's like, what do you do that for? It's like,
Yeah, so
like he's planned the most arseholish thing you can say. Is like, oh, well, I deserve to know what I'm hitching myself to here.
instead of supporting you in your hour of need, I'm gonna just basically try and weasel my way out of it in some way.
And he goes, oh, I can't deal with this right now. So he sleeps on the sofa that night, and she is doing some. I do this sometimes. I'll be like, oh, I've got a bit of work to finish. I'll take my laptop to bed, and you're in there for like 2 minutes, and go, actually, I just go to sleep.
Yeah. What are you doing in there on the laptop? Okay, is that snoring I can hear? No, I'm working.
Take your laptop to bed, thinking
Working hard or
I'm
hardly
gonna.
working.
Oh, you cheeky! Like it's. I'm gonna finish that script this evening, and then you sit there. You've got the laptop in front of you. Go, oh, actually, ever so comfy now. I might just close it and go to sleep.
Yeah, it's too tempting.
And then you do that, but it doesn't. She basically closes it because a ghost comes. So the ghost's knocking at the door, going.
She gets under the blankets, doesn't she?
Yeah, the ghost's like, "Here, I'm a ghost. I'm haunting you."
It's just that thing where, like, when you're a kid and you're scared, you think, "I'll just get under the blankets," because
the ghost will look in and go, "Oh, no one in there."
Yeah, I'm fully protected. Or like you put yourself under the blankets, but then go as flat as possible to the bed.
Yeah, try and sink into the.
And like get the also to add to this, I get the pillow and put it on my head.
Yeah, the ghost comes in. Got you. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. Not even in
it.
He
just sits down on the edge of the bed lat and goes, "What am I doing with my life?" And I just say like, "Shit, don't get me."
The ghost talking to itself. Like, right, should I wait for it to come back? Maybe I'll hide in these blankets. And the ghost gets in next to you. You're both doing it. So the ghost as flat as possible next to you. Go, shh.
And then you scare the ghost.
Give it a fright. Then you can just got it back with a jump scare. That's not what happens. Basically, the ghost just rapping on the chamber door, and she doesn't get much sleep. So the next day, she chips off and sees her old boyfriend again, and goes, "Oh, couldn't do a solid video." Yeah, how'd
you know he was there? How'd you know it was his day off?
Yeah,
this is the thing, right? There's no in films like this. It's 2022. There's no texting ahead. People just turning up at houses, like going, "All right, I'm glad you're in." No, you wouldn't. You text ahead. You wouldn't waste a journey. You go, "Are you in? Is there any chance?" So sounds mad. And I come to say hello.
Yeah,
but basically,
well, actually, you could also get your entire story out in that one. You could say, "Hey, it's gonna sound mad. I'm not crazy. Yeah. Please don't imply I am." But ghost that's chasing me. Can you research the following things? But no, I guess that wouldn't be such a compelling film. So she turns up at the house, goes, "Hey, will you research this for me?" This is where he like really densely doesn't get the message and says like, "Oh, can you?" Oh no, apologies. Before she goes to the boyfriend, she goes to see the widow of because that's what she Googles when she's
of course. So she finds out
the lecturer that bashed his head in.
He was smiling apparently during his death. So she goes to visit his wife Victoria, who, if you recognize her, there's loads of people from like American TV shows in this. It's Judy Reyes from Scrubs, who plays the mum.
Yes.
Not the mum, the wife of the professor, Victoria. And then she basically like explains to him that, oh yeah, he started acting differently, saying he was seeing things. Here's a whole room of drawings he's managed to do of the smile, even though he had like a week to live after seeing it for the first time. He just got himself up there and did a load of artworks, right?
He did nothing but drawing the whole week leading up to his death.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of good because if the thing came upstairs, it would have. I mean, you wouldn't go anywhere out in public. Like, I'm assuming he was just doing his job, right? When he killed himself in front of the original, the girl, that Laura. Oh, what's that? Well, I am being stalked by a smiling supernatural ghoulie, but I've got to go to work. It's going to kill you, though.
I've still got to do 1-to-1s tomorrow. The perfect time for a ghostie to get me.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's been drawing all these pictures of a ghoulie. um, a pictures of a ghoulie, and then she accidentally lets it slip, and he goes, "Hey, you're not a reporter at all, are you?" He says, "No, no, I did see something." And she's like, "Right, get out my house,
She's
get out."
fuming as well. Absolutely fuming.
Yeah, she is
Screams at her,
raging.
"Get the hell out of here!" And then, so basically, there's like a paper trail that Rose and her ex-police officer, ex-boyfriend, sorry, police
And
officer
they can
do
find it
go.
out because it's mentioned when she sees the wife, the widow of the lecturer. He goes, "Oh, he saw that awful woman kill herself."
Why is nobody making the connection? It's obvious. This is clear as day that there's a connection here, but everyone's just brushing it off as some sort of coincidence of, oh yeah, he saw someone kill themselves, and then he killed himself in front of someone else as well, and then it just keeps going on. But you know what? I couldn't possibly tell you what makes this happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, they couldn't do it. And they give that chain. You see the lady who she said was who died previously that the lecturer saw, she saw someone at a petrol station chop themselves with some garden
yeah,
shears.
and we see some nice video footage of this as well, don't we?
Yeah,
But
some
again,
CCTV
it's
footage.
bloody. But again, it's 18. But for some reason, the only footage we got of it is from behind the guy stabbing himself and some blood flying everywhere. Oh, 18. Rate this film 18. I couldn't possibly know what was happening.
Yeah.
Come on,
Oh,
toothless.
yeah, a bit toothless. And he lifts up those shears like he's a cropsy as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Cropsy!
Cropsy forever. And when they work out the chain, they realize that there was a guy called Robert Taylor who managed to escape after killing a stranger, and so he witnessed a murder. So what does it say here? So he essentially somehow
yeah.
managed to break the chain.
Yeah. After she's left, the boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, keeps looking up and is like, "Oh, actually, 2020, a list of
Yeah.
20, actually." I feel like they did a bit of side call baiting as well. So even there was a chain in Brazil. Oh,
Yeah, they did that. Again, it feels like so heavy-handed in terms of this whole section here on the laptop is it kind of felt
it's like Justice League.
yeah, it's exactly like Justice League. Yeah, we got an email here with all of them on all of the Justice Leagues.
LexCorp have even designed their logos. Look, yeah, they've
It's just in terms of like plot, it's a what's it called? A dump? A what dump?
an exposition dump.
Exposition.
There's an exposition, and it's like, oh yeah, there's one person that survived. He's in prison though. She nips along to see him and
That's all
says,
right. It'll be well easy to get a one-on-one with a convicted murderer if A, I just say I'm a police officer, and B, you just say you're like a therapist. Oh, what are you coming here to see him for? Don't you worry about that. All right. I can't remember what they say. What did they say?
"Oh, just say, oh,
Yeah. And then they
it'll be
do a
interesting
classic.
for us."
They do a classic. A mate of mine.
Yeah.
A mate of mine, right? He's really interested in finding out about the male G spot, right? A mate of mine is really interested in finding out about it. Definitely a mate of mine, but can you tell me a little bit about it? But it's a mate of mine, and his name is Brendan. What?
Yeah.
It's just so it's just so ridiculous. I don't think in any scenario, if somebody said a mate of mine, in any scenario, you go you.
I'll tell you what, a friend of mine accidentally flushed a big like 12-inch dildo down the toilet and it stuck. How do you reckon there's a way to get that out without phoning a plumber?
Do you remember me of that? This is a disgusting story, man, but it does remind me of that. And it's not a mate of mine, but it's a story that happened in someone went on a date, a young lady, and she had to use the facility. She had to use the toilet. This has nothing to do with the film, sorry. And she blocked the toilet with said, what could we say? Said waste of hers. And then she went, oh, I'm gonna have to get it out of here and throw it out the window. And she got it out with a little toilet roll glove, I guess.
Roll cradle.
Yeah. Throw it out the window, but it was between two pieces of glass. It was like a double window, and it fell down there. And she was like, You can Google this afterwards. I'll send you a link. And then she tried to go down into the gap between the windows head first, got stuck. Had to call obviously had to call her date and say, look, I'm stuck. And then and then obviously had to call the fire brigade to get her out from there. And obviously she could go, oh, I just fell in here, but she couldn't say that because there was also
shit.
There was also a shit. I don't know if it was in her hand or she dropped it at this point, but as things go.
Oh, you'd want the smile ghost to get you, wouldn't you?
Smile ghost, please get me. I'm at my lowest ebb.
and the smile ghost like, can anyone see you in there? No, not interested then, mate. Bye.
Please.
Please.
Man, you got stuck there and you got so hungry that you no, don't even do that. Don't even bring it up.
Oh, you're Jigsaw. That is a terrible situation to be in.
So what happens here is Rose obviously is explaining she's been cursed, and the killer dude basically does explain the only way to break the chain is to kill someone else in front of a witness. But obviously, if you do it in front of a witness, you've automatically got to take the fall and get jailed for murder. But essentially, you don't get killed. You don't die.
Well, as long as they don't tell on you for a week, you'd be all right.
And then Rose, yeah, exactly. And then Rose does the bloody, accidentally goes, oh, yeah, but I'm cursed. Oh, fuck. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said it. Oh, no. And he's like, you what? You're cursed. Fucking hell. Yeah.
And he's living because he doesn't want the curse back. So he shouts and screams, and they take him away. And then again, Rose
got.
Go on.
Fuming if you got cursed back, wouldn't you? In prison.
You'd be
all right, yeah. How's it going? Yeah, you're right. You're cursed back. For fuck's sake.
So Rose doesn't tell the policeman about it. She's like, what did he say in there? He's on nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly. Nothing. You know what killers are like. They're off their heads. They're mad. Mate.
He didn't give me no clues at all. Waste of time, really. Thanks for nothing.
And he literally he just goes, all right then. Yeah. What can we do?
I'll drop you home. And he drops her home, and the boyfriend A trainer's called the therapist round, and she feels ambushed and does one.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was earlier, but now she goes back because this is, I think, when we go back, and the therapist comes round and says, oh, felt ever so bad about what happened. And then while the therapist's there, phone goes.
Yeah.
And who is it on the phone? But the therapist to say, oh, I'm ever so sorry about that. And then she looks back at the therapist who's there to say sorry. Tell you what, it's having a lovely smile at her.
This is the weirdest of all the smiles, right? The rest of them are quite jovial. This one's like, this one is like, I know we've mentioned him before, but Men in Black skin suit cockroach man. What's his name? Yeah. Egger. Again, one of those smiles, like don't know how to, not a human being in there. Don't know how to smile. Egger, sugar water.
More. It's some excellent voices now because the wife is good in that. We could Egger or Air, almost as if his name is Air.
Egger. Face is hanging off your bones.
Oh,
Egger.
Yeah.
We need to act out this scene at some point.
So she
again,
she eggers her. And I was just trying to do that face. I can't recreate that smile. I can't.
But just comes walking towards her. This is the first instance of anybody who's done the smile as physically coming towards you. Like all of the other times, it's just been someone like sat there smiling. Now this one's physically coming towards you and a bit dribbly.
Yeah, looms over her like Gandalf the Grey. Oh, take me for a conjurer. And then
even that's quite scary.
Says to the people, tell me you're the bad guy. It's not. Well,
yeah. Are you speaking English, Gandalf the Grey? Are you just making a series of noises?
So, Ghosty the Grey says, "Oh, actually, I'm going to kill you real soon. So look forward to that.
Yeah. So is this
look forward to seeing you.
so is that I'm gonna kill you, but I'm not gonna do it right now because no one's here
Because
to witness it.
you're on your own, actually. So I'm gonna kill you real soon. Actually, look forward to it. I'm menacing you at this point. And she is
When
menaced.
when did she go to her sister again? I think we missed that.
Yeah, I think this is after she's been to the policeman. Sorry, no notes after when you see a new film.
No, I
It's
mean it's not
after
even on. It's not even on the synopsis. Sorry, the plot
I
thing.
think
I've
it's
got here.
after she goes to see the policeman, but before she goes to see the murderer. That's when he's doing that bit of research because she's got him to print off all the other pictures, and she goes to see her sister and
Oh my
says,
god, she does also say real life. This is a real life horror. Somebody asking you, "Have you got a printer?" No, I haven't. What are you on about? Have you got a printer? Even if I had a printer, I can't afford the ink because I'm not a billionaire. I'm not. I haven't got like a six-figure salary. Millionaire.
"In this economy,
In this economy, ink. I mean, I've just put a new cartridge in there. That's fine. What are you printing off? Just a couple of sheets.
couple of crime scene photos."
Yeah. What's
Hang on,
happened?
was one of them
I've
taken
ran
at night? One of those taken at night? Yeah, that's my black one gone.
the toner. The toner. Oh my god! The
Oh.
amount of times when I worked in an office, the amount of times someone would go, "Toner, does anyone know how to change it?" And I think one day I went, "Yeah, I'll give it a go," and I did it. Didn't really know how to do it. Proper fudged it, and after that, every single time, Ben knows how to do it. I don't know how to do it.
I don't. It was horrible.
It was horrible. I got it all over my hands.
And also,
Oh,
you don't, you can't get it on you. Like printer toner, as well as being one of the most expensive like liquids in the world.
Yeah.
It's like super carcinogenic. You can't breathe it. It's like you've had a
Horrific.
sandwich full of asbestos.
I look like
your body will wither away.
I look like an Urukai. Second Lord of the Rings reference in merely minutes. I look like one of the Urukai. Meat's back on the menu, boys. That's what I look like. Sat on my desk.
You've got the inky hand of Saruman on your face.
Yeah, I'm the chosen one.
That was another in the era of Lord of the Rings. That would be a fun game you could play to delight and disgust your friends when you're at the pub. So what you do is you go for a wee and you wash your hands, not an animal, but then of course you don't dry them, and then you walk back out of the pub, you can have the wet hand of Saruman, just wipe it on their face.
I enjoy just like a wet hand flick.
Yeah,
because
right.
people go, "Oh, what's that?
That's the two.
From?
It's the two Lord of the Rings era friends tortures you can do. So you can do the wet hand of Saruman when you don't dry your hands after you've washed them, or the hot hand of Sauron, which is when you've made tea or coffee and you keep the hot spoon in your hand and then just press it into them.
That's horrific because that is truly, truly shocking. For a second, you're like, "I'm dead."
Oh, no.
Ah!
The hot hand of Sauron might be making a comeback now that the Rings of Power is on.
The hot hand of Sauron. Oh. There's another one, right? It's called Itchy Ring. No, it's not. I made that up. That's silly.
So basically, she shows she after training her ex-boyfriend, not even in a relationship anymore, she uses all of his ink cartridges to print off all those crime scene photos. She goes round her sister's house and goes, "Yeah, Soz, it wasn't me that killed the cat, but you've got to get over your trauma. Don't be such a bitch all the time." And she's like, "Actually, no, I need to move on with my life. Stop coming around here." So I guess she's basically isolated from her family, so they won't help her. And then the ghost pretends to be her and makes her head. She's watching on the video.
Her head like lolls sort of back. What is it like? Kind of like
upside down
and sort of like that. And again, we see the kid looking at her from the window, and she's like screaming over nothing. So again, obviously, I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's almost like it's getting to the point where every time it happens, you're like, it's obviously in her head, but I know nobody else can see it. However, are we just supposed to think that it's all just in her mind, that there's no physical manifestation of it at all?
Yeah, so only she can see it. So yeah, the little boy is just watching out the window, so she's clearly reaching close to the end. Then we have the bit with the therapist that we talked about earlier. and she thinks to herself, right, I've really got to do something about this. So she gets the file with all the murderers, with all the crime scene photos. She gets the most ornate knife of all, and then
Oh
she
yeah,
nips along to the hospital to
just nips along.
go fillet a man. And she
I don't understand what this would. Oh, is she thinking to do it and someone see it? No, wait, what? What's the point of this? Why is she killing this guy?
it's okay. Spoilers for in a minute, but it's only a dream. So she goes to the
Yeah,
hospital,
even
wanders in,
even
and
so, I don't quite understand.
that guy is in there again. He's a bit dubious of her because last time she saw him, she just
Yeah,
got some of the lads to come in and thump him.
poor bloke.
So she walks up to him, and just as her boss comes in, she stabs up the poor man. But
Ah.
he's having
Oh
a
yeah, no, it does make sense. She's obviously
he's
trying to kill somebody
in
with
front.
one witness. But this is the thing. How can you control how many witnesses there are going to be? Like you're in the middle of a hospital, a busy hospital, where if someone walks in and screams or hears someone getting stabbed up, everyone's going to come running.
Yeah.
You can go, merely one witness at a time, please. Take a ticket.
Yeah, only one, please. No, but this guy's having a whale of a time getting stabbed, though. He finds it very funny.
Yeah. Maybe it just tickles him in all the right places.
Yeah, it's getting him right in the ribs there. He's like, oh, please, no more.
No more
Um,
tickling.
but it turns out that's just a dream. So, and good, because when she first, I was like, of all the people in the world you murdered, that's so you chose that man.
Yeah. The one man who clearly has a lot of issues and bloody
I
hell.
well, I don't know. In many ways, I guess that will have. I mean, his paranoia will have paid off. Technically, it's not paranoia if you were expecting something that really was going to happen. You've
I
basically
was
turned him from paranoid to psychic in one
I
action.
was right. I was right all along. I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it isn't that because it's just a dream, and then she
It
snaps
was
back to
only
reality.
just a dream. I get bothered by that Nelly song, right? Because it was only just a dream. Surely you only need it was only a dream.
One or the other, Nelly.
It was only a dream, or it was just a dream. It was only, yeah, just a dream. What?
Or maybe,
Uh,
maybe we're thinking about this the wrong way, Ben. And he was saying it maybe it only just passed the parameters of being a dream by a
it was only
by a narrow margin.
it was only just a dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's only just a dream. Any further, and it would have been reality. Any less, and it would have been whatever comes below the dream in the hierarchy, like a thought.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know. I've got a lot of time for Nelly, but I don't quite believe it. I don't
um,
reckon
uh,
it.
yeah, I don't know the song well enough to debate any further. I'd have to look at the other lyrics for context.
It was only just a dream. She wakes up. The doctor comes out, says you got to come and get some help. Sees the knife, and then she just drives away.
And he chases after like the Terminator, but only for a minute.
Only for a moment. T1000 for 3 seconds.
Yeah,
Oh,
he only does a couple of pumps of the arms. There's like actually no,
actually no. Cardio is tough.
no, it's not like I'm about. I've been
Yeah.
working 80-hour weeks as well. I'm a member of staff down.
Yeah.
So she chips off, and then at this point she's had an idea, and thought, oh, I'll go to a cabin because it has to see. It wants the trauma. It wants to see.
So this is very sorry. Didn't mean to
No,
interrupt your
go.
point. I was gonna say this is very Final Destination, isn't it? Where he goes off and lives in a death-proof cabin,
Murder-proof cabin. Yeah,
murder-proof cabin. That horrible jagged nail sticking out the wall. Yeah, got a pillow there.
safe. Although, bearing in mind what we see Death do in the movie, she could have just like crashed a plane onto your cabin.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
You're not just worried about fishing rods falling on you. But so she goes along and hides in the cabin. She leaves the phone in the car so the policeman can't come and help her.
Nice.
And then she hasn't taken any provisions really, so she goes. There's like a little paraffin lamp. She lights it and then waits till nighttime, the scariest time, and then goes to confront the ghost. And the ghost first manifests as her mom and has that she has a flashback of what actually happened, which actually her mom, she didn't find her mom dead. She found her mom having had a suicide attempt and said, "Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Go and phone me an ambulance."
Mm.
Call me an ambulance. She goes, "You're an ambulance," and then walks off. She doesn't. She just sees her mom suffering, asking for help, and and she runs away.
Too
Um,
good.
and
It's
she
too good. Hey,
so
Dad, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm dead.
she's been a real piece of shit about it. Actually, it wasn't that she was a real piece of shit. She was afraid of her mom because sometimes when people are real poorly, it can be quite frightening when you're a kid. So she runs off and she
Yeah.
basically left her to die, and that's what has made her feel guilty all the time.
Mm.
And she feels guilty. Whoa, guilty. Um, yeah, so she's feeling
Wow.
guilty.
What a banger.
And then her mom reappears, looking more and more monstrous as this goes on, saying, "Oh, you left me to die, though."
Really like deep,
Really?
scary voice as well, right?
Yeah, she has got a deep voice. Um, and then she says that, "Oh no, but I can't carry this trauma with me all the time. I have to let it go." Eventually, I was a kid and I was scared, and that's one of these things that happen. And that feels like an end of Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, fuck you, Freddy! I'm stealing all the fear that I gave you over the years.
Mm.
Doesn't happen. That says, "Oh, like I I'm can't carry this trauma around." She goes, "Oh, yes, you will, because guess what? I'm gonna turn into a big gangly ghost mom," and turns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big gangly ghost mum in like some weird sort of love heart pajamas. It's very sort of like Japanese looking, isn't it?
yeah.
In terms of like
It's big J horror
horror anime.
anime. Yeah,
J horror, long scary limbs, big scary face, bit like Attack on Titan, like the sort of big creepy eyes and big grins and stuff, and almost that. Remember that Momo as well from a couple of years ago?
yeah.
The
It's very
weird
Momo, actually. Yes, so Momo's in the house.
Momo is in the house, and Marguerite from Resident Evil 7 as well, like big,
Yeah,
sort of long, gangly, bony
big
arms.
gangly old lady. Yeah, so Momo grabs her and she shuts the door, um, but slows her down for a second, and then she comes out. But you think she's escaped, and then she comes into the room. A big monster comes in and goes, "Ha!
But again,
I'm in your head. I'm in your head forever." And then guess what, Ghosty? Sucked in. She goes, "Aha! You can't strangle me, because actually, if you're in my head, then that's also my head that you're in." The logic doesn't quite work out. She's like, "Aha! But if you're in my mind, then that's also that is my
I feel
mind."
like I feel like my face is what Momo was making in this moment. Like, what?
Yeah. She's like,
In
"Ah."
my head, then if you're in my head, then about oh yeah.
I don't mean that I'm
Um,
in yours, because it's not like that. It's if you're in my head, then it is my head that we're in. Ah, if you're if I'm stuck in here forever, then that means so are you. And then she basically goes, "Eat lantern, fuckface," and smashes the lantern on her.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
That's exactly what she does. And then
But again, it's very. This is quite It Follows, because there's a big gangly tall man in It Follows, and it comes in under
yeah,
the. And
comes into the door frame. So she stops strangling her and gets bashed with a lantern and goes, "Oh no, fire, my only weakness. I'm burning up."
yeah,
And then the whole cabin burns down, the roof collapses. She dusts her hands off and goes, "Ah, I am done with it." And then she drives back to all the way back to the city, goes to the boyfriend's house and goes, "Actually, everything's all right now. I've come to terms with my trauma."
this is one of those things where you're like, at least you can kind of go back to a normal life, because a lot of the times in these films, the main character ends up like killing someone or like involved in something where somebody dies, and they're like, well, they're never going back from that because they're gonna get done for
Yeah,
that. But she's
it's
not really done anything that bad.
just
She's not actually stabbed someone,
burned down an abandoned house that she owned. So
killed a cat, killed a cat.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
true. And did you think at this point, oh, you're probably going to get back together with the policeman and dump A Train, I guess?
well, you kind of think that, didn't you? But not for one single second did I think that that was
That
it.
that
I
she
was
was,
just
yeah, no, not
waiting
for
and
not for a
waiting for
moment
that moment.
after that non-eventful burning. Then basically, she goes, "Oh, will you just watch me sleep for a bit because I'm ever so tired?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll watch you sleep forever." Just what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Oh no!
Oh no.
And then he does a smile. Yeah, it's like, oh.
Again, this is like, right. This is maybe the fifth or sixth instance of someone smiling, and it's always been someone she knows or is close to or like works with her as a patient. It's never actually been a stranger on the street or just somebody else. And I feel like that it made it too predictable for me. I
Yeah.
always knew when we were going to see a smiley person because it was when she was alone with somebody who she knew, and you're like, okay, this is kind of weird. This
And they
ain't
also
quite
they
right.
also stand still and glare at her for a good 15, 20 seconds before they do a smile. Because someone never
Yeah,
stands there while you're doing a talk and goes,
yeah. There we go.
before they do a big smile. So she runs away, gets out of the door, and then she's actually back outside the cabin again.
Oh yeah, she was at the cabin all along.
At
She
the
never
cabin
even got away.
at the cabin again, and then who should pull up but the policeman pulls up outside. She runs inside, shuts the door. The ghoulie is there. Um,
Skinless.
yeah, it peels its face off and then uses its
Yeah.
lots of mouths to swallow her up. Or does it get in her mouth?
Oh yeah, I just thought about another moment. The doctor peeled his face off earlier as well, didn't he?
When she was
Okay.
stabbing up the
So
patient in the
maybe
dream.
I thought there wasn't much gore, but I guess like a couple of peely face off moments kind of count.
There's a face peel, but it's not a face peel of a person. It's a face peel. Actually, the doctor peels his face off. But
Yeah.
now it's it's Momo. Momo peels a face, and then she's got loads
Mama.
and loads of mouths. It's like Xenomorph times 1,000, like loads and loads of mouths, like Rory Kinnear from the end of
Loads
Men.
of
But they've
smiles. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
and then all those smiles eat her up, and then the policeman breaks in. Um, he sees Rose pouring paraffin all over herself. She turns around, got a big old smile across her face, and she sets herself on fire. And we see him look on in horror as she kills herself, and flames consume her, and the curse is passed on.
So,
Any immediate thoughts, and then I'll share what I might have done, like what I was thinking about the ending.
oh god. What like what you would have done with the ending? I
Yeah,
don't know, really. I mean, I have to give it some thought. I kind of thought ending on that sort of like bleak, helpless note of it's you can't be beaten and it's passed on to him as well was just a bit. I don't know. I don't think it earned an ending like that. I feel like another ending where we feel the relief of oh my god, she's made it. And
that's
then
what I
suddenly
wanted. Yeah,
like the descent when you're like oh my god, she's made it. Oh shit, no, she hasn't. Like when a film earns that sort of ending, it is effective, it is good, and it is like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Can you believe it? I thought she was all right. Ah, no. But a film like this, it kind of just felt like it goes through the motions and then gives us that ending, and I felt a bit like it was a cop out.
yeah. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I think it's difficult to deliver it because of the more serious tone in the message they tried to give. So it talks about this generational trauma and how trauma that you experience at one point can carry on and affect the rest of your life, and that is at its heart a uh, an interesting, certainly a meaningful message. Now, I don't know if she could have defeated the ghost by again.
Having a smile off with it, like
Yeah,
like a staring contest.
I was thinking. Well, I mean, you could do that. Absolutely, you could. Yes, but there's lots. So you could have done something like that. She could have chosen to move on, a bit like the Night House. You know, that's a lot about choosing how you just. I mean, if you want a film that deals with trauma and your past traumas affecting your life today and mental health and mental illness, that is a great example that I think really carries itself through very well and has something meaningful to say, and it does itself with that subtlety, and it gives itself room to breathe. Whereas this one, with this whole thing that like it is about trauma, but it's not purely like the Babadook and a metaphor for trauma and grief. It is also a ghost. There's a ghoulie that will try and get you.
Ghoulie
Now,
Bobs. Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether personally I probably would have flipped who our main character was about halfway through and
Yeah.
used the experiences of losing the first one, what influences the second one to make the right choices and do those things. If it was purely about defeating a ghost, and if you wanted a bittersweet ending, maybe you could have seen her choose to die on her own terms. Like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe before the ghost can get her and force the boyfriend to, it would be a difficult one and possibly a troubling ending if what your message you're giving about this character with incredible trauma is that they kill themselves, because obviously that is a
Yeah.
hideous message to pass across.
Yeah.
But if you made the choice that the ghost was going to get her and she chose to die on her own terms and not subject him to the trauma, then maybe that's something.
Yeah.
Or maybe when he's got her last act of will is to say, "Don't look,
Don't
go,
look.
don't
Yeah.
look,
Don't
go
look.
away, don't let this trauma carry
Cut
on."
his eyes out. Cuts
Yeah,
his eyes out.
yeah, blind him temporarily, send off like a flash grenade so he can't see it.
Great
Um,
idea. Yeah.
yeah, if
Fresh
you
grenade
plot on
out.
those. So there are alternatives that you could have done there, or have him because he is someone who cares about it and has been shown someone that takes action. Maybe instead of like she has been replaced, and like so they talk earlier on about how it wasn't really that Laura anymore earlier when she killed herself. It was like the thing she was completely different. So she was gone, and that thing was basically piloting her body. Maybe because he has been a man of action and he's always done his best to protect, he's a police, he's
Stopped
a
her
police
from killing
detective.
herself somehow.
If
Yeah.
he had like jumped on her or,
Yeah.
blown the match out or something like that, maybe there could have been some kind of confrontation where she regains control of her body and, you show that with the right support, the right help, you can get past that trauma. And then rather than have a bleak, oh, she's dead and he's cursed ending, you could
Yeah.
probably say, oh, we've saved the day and we found a different way to break the chain in which no one had to die.
And I think that's
But
what needed to happen. Yeah. I mean, like when you think about something like The Ring, like the act of making another videotape and passing it on, like it feels like a sacrifice has to be made at the end. Again, you feel like this film earns it. It earns the fact that they've exhausted all other avenues. I've got to pass it on to somebody else. Do you see what I mean? Whereas
yeah,
this felt like it was just the standard default ending.
the ghosts
And
ghosts are clever. They can make you, if you've won, it's a nightmare, it's a dream, and actually the ghost always wins. So you've lost. Sorry.
yeah, it's a cheat code. The ghost
Yeah.
got a cheat code on, which isn't fair at all.
Infinite
But yeah,
goes. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen something different about the ending. Maybe an ending where she either sacrifices herself or at a surface level survives, and then there is a
yeah,
hint that the
a little hint
creature
of
is
a
still around.
smile, something, maybe like a smile, and she snaps out of it. Oh God, that was weird. What's going on? Oh, the
Or
smile's still
just
there.
they're still together. They're back together at the end, and she runs into she runs into a train, and they have a little bit of
Oh,
exchange. They
steady.
make
I'm not too fast, eh?
oh no, not too fast. Don't want to dust her, but maybe something like they all make friends. They put the past behind them, and then in wishing them well, he just smiles a little bit too long, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and says, "Oh, it's the bloody smile," and then we
yeah.
never know. The end question
We
mark.
never know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it. I like it,
but
Andy. I like it.
like yeah, but it's not what we got. That was just a dream about the ending
No,
we could have had. What we got was that she burned herself up in
it
the
was
fire, and he's
only
cursed now.
it was only just a dream, and it was only just the end of the movie. So, any name game for me at
I've
all?
got I've got a couple for you, Ben. What's the tagline of Smile?
The tagline of Smile is "Somebody smiles." Okay. After witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain.
Okay, so after experiencing the horrific death of a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter finds she's experiencing terrible horrors, but just all stacked up in a big sort of neat heap.
Oh yeah, that's how I like to experience my traumas and horrors. It's pile.
It's pile. Very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the next one I've got is that after experiencing the terrible suicide and death of a smiling patient, Dr. Rose Cotter is traumatized by something so scary that she runs about 1.6 kilometers away.
Mile.
Mile, very good.
Very good.
Um, next up for you, after experiencing the hideous and grotesque death of a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter is traumatized by after seeing that patient smile and kill herself. A far more dangerous sense, not a ghost at all, but a reptilian adversary, an aquatic reptile that also smiles at her, but with much more teeth than a person has.
Reptile.
Not reptile.
No? What did you say?
I mean, it does rhyme. It's a reptilian adversary, but with big long
Crocodile.
crocodile. Yeah,
Oh,
crocodile.
yeah, yeah.
Let's have a look here. After seeing a patient die horribly, Dr. Rose Cotter is traumatized by the baddie from Basket Case slash the nickname for former guest and friend of the show, Alice Taylor Matthews' baby.
Belial.
Belial, very good. And then finally, after seeing the tragic death of a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter is haunted by visions of little tiny glass tubes with a stopper in it.
Oh, a vial.
Vial, very good. You got any for me off the old top of the dome there?
Literally wrote one down. You got so many. I wrote one down. After witnessing a bizarre traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences, all set in and around a, a very large river that flows through northeastern Africa.
The Nile.
Denial, yeah. Denial. No, don't deny it. It's definitely
she,
denial.
she refuses to acknowledge that it's happening. So not just a river in Egypt, you know. I'll tell you what, Ben.
Denial.
One more for you. So after witnessing the death of a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter is faced with the challenge of phoning the police.
Dial.
Dial, yeah.
Oh, I got a
She
good one.
does.
I got another one.
Come on.
Uh, after experiencing that suicide, Rose Cotter, she's like the only person who can help me is that character from Street Fighter 2 because he's hard.
Guile, and his music goes with anything.
How's it go? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Great hair. Great hair.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So I guess we just got to rate the film now. Rate good or rate bad. And I think I've kind of like summed it up. Don't mean to jump in there straight away,
There
but
you go.
at the top of the show, before we kind of jumped into the before we jumped into like what we kind of thought about this film into this in terms of the story, I think I did sum it up, which is that it feels very derivative of stuff that's come before it and stuff that's good. And I also think in terms of an actual film, especially one that's rated 18, there's not much gore, there's not much actual threat or real world consequences. I didn't feel like this constant, like if it follows, you're like, oh god, where is it, what's
Could
going to
be.
happen,
It's
what's
going to
going
turn
on
up
here?
any time, right?
This kind of just happened. It was like, oh, people she knows and loves are just going to start smiling at the end of a scene, and that's kind of it. And I think it just hit all of these standard horror movie beats. Perhaps feels a little bit confused in terms of its identity, whether it is one of these sort of like highbrow horror films or elevated horror films, or just like a really standard standard mainstream jump scary film, which
Yeah.
I think it kind of is. And I think it's kind of got this facade and obviously the face of the smile as well, which makes you feel like it's perhaps something that's a bit more than it is. A lot of the elevated horror stuff deals with stuff like trauma, deals with stuff like mental health problems, deals with things like generational traumas and stuff, but in a much better way most of the time. It just kind of felt like this. It was kind of a reason for this curse to exist. Didn't explore it in a way that I found in any way unique or interesting. Yeah, I find it, and as I obviously mentioned, I didn't mention on the show yet, kind of watched it with a bit of a naff cinema audience who were kind of, there was a lot of talking all the way through. So I find it hard to kind of get locked. That's not the film's fault. I find it hard to get locked into that atmosphere wise. So for me, I don't know. It's not a film I'd ever want to see again, and I probably wouldn't recommend to anybody as a fan of horror movies. The films that we've compared it to so far are all infinitely better. I'm gonna go for a D minus.
Oh, a D
It's the
minus.
lowest. I think that's the lowest I've gone for in a while.
That's
But
for about, well, yeah.
especially when you pay money to watch it in the cinema, I think it's a different sort of
Yeah.
experience where you're like, sure, jump scares in it, but again, do I feel like any of it
I
was
thought
there?
I thought you were. I know you were not a jump scare fan, so I thought that would have it going against it anyway.
The jump scare that's in the background of yours, I actually liked because it was a little bit unexpected and it's like in the daytime. I
I'll
feel
tell
like
you,
when the jump scares happened in the middle of a dark house, I was like,
nah.
I know exactly what to expect. It's just paint
Then
by
again,
numbers.
this is on my background here because it's in the trailer.
Yeah, okay. So Lucy mentioned that on Twitter, didn't she? So Lucy was supposed to join us for this episode. She's feeling a little bit under the weather. Get well soon, Lucy. We hope you're feeling
Okay,
better.
Austin, stop being poorly if you could.
Stop being poorly for God's sake. Uh, she mentioned on Twitter. She said, "Look, I think she enjoyed Smile, to a degree. I don't think she absolutely loved it. She did write a review for it as well. Um, I think she gave it 3 stars out of 5, so 6 out of 10, pretty standard. She did mention that like what would have been one of the most effective jump scares is in the trailer, and again, I was pretty lucky. I didn't see much of. I don't think I saw a full trailer, and I managed to avoid most marketing apart from the sort of people with the smiley faces in crowds at sporting events and stuff. That's the only thing I really saw. So I was lucky. But yeah, a moment like that in the trailer is
What a
like
waste.
it's such a waste. But that's the thing. I think it's thin on the ground for actual genuine scares, this film. So it can't put the ending in, which is I genuinely think visually is quite scary.
Yeah.
They can't put the ending in the trailer, surely. So they put like one of the most other memorable scares in there. The rest of it is just like someone genuinely smiling. There's not actually a jump. So there we go.
So there's you. Yeah, maybe I'll do slightly better. I thought there were some individually effective moments. The bit when the therapist came round and it turned out it wasn't her. It was genuinely like a
Mm.
little surprise. I the bit with the audio jump scare, like full credit to them. I was leaning in to try and hear nothing
Oh
worse than
yeah.
a weakness. I'm trying to work out the answer to a question that I could look at or listen to hard enough. And it makes you go quiet and lean in
Yeah.
before like the ghost comes up and
Ah!
the light goes bang and the dirt is gone. It's like, oh,
Fucking hell, Barry Scott.
yeah, I'm very, yeah. So it absolutely like paid off in that sense. But I think the trauma narrative didn't really pay off for me. I don't know why the thing was that it was smiling necessarily. I mean, is it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
is that just a creepy thing? Is it meant to be because it's smiling through, when you're in terrible internal pain, but it doesn't really explain that or touch upon it. Like, I feel like you could have narratively or thematically tied a few things together, and without, you wouldn't even have to scrap everything you had. You would just have to just tie a few little things and make a few
Mm.
little little tweaks and
Yeah.
nudges here
Yeah.
and there,
Oh god.
and you could have given it maybe a different ending or something like that, and it would have paid off on the theme you were going for here, because it's not silly enough to give itself that. It's not a horror comedy that's trying to make you jump. It's not trying to go for a drag me to hell or anything like that. So it takes itself reasonably seriously and has serious undertones and background thematic elements, but it doesn't quite pull those off for me
Mm.
to actually pull it off. So I'm gonna go with a D. It wasn't a complete. I'm not gonna go always D minus. I'll go with a D. I think it
Mm.
had problems in that sense, and I haven't mentioned, I'll mention it one more time. People like incidental characters, just make them good at their jobs, because 9 out of 10 people, especially in some of the jobs you're representing, are pretty good at their jobs.
Yeah.
Just do those things and just tie that a little bit together, and it would have been good. There are some incidental scare movies. It's, you know what, it's coming up to Halloween. It's on at the cinemas. It's doing very well. Go in a group and just enjoy having some scares and being made to jump at the cinema. You'll have a fine time. But I don't think this is about to set the world on fire as like when it goes to home, home video. I don't think it's going to become a really memorable thing. I certainly don't need to watch it again. And it's no Dario Argento's Dracula. If you take anything from this episode, go and watch that. But a D from me.
D's all round. D's for everyone. Okay.
Which looks like, actually, think about a D. Turn that on its side, put some little teeth in there, sort of smile.
Oh, my bloody hell. Didn't even think of that. That's put the willies up in ours. Don't like it. I'm going to sleep tonight. Okay. That's it. Smile. Done. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thank you very much to our patrons. John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, and Pazuzu, and a brand new patron, Mr. Rob Parker. Thank you very much, Rob.
Rob, thanks everybody.
Yeah, so thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review, and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter at horror_hangout_, and we're on Instagram at Horror Hangout Podcast. Next week, we're doing the brand new bloody Hellraiser. If you can't wait for us to get our teeth into some Hellraiser, have a look on YouTube. Our Hellraiser trailer reaction from me and Andy is on there, available for everybody to have a little look at.
Yeah, enjoy raising some hell, everyone. In the meantime, maybe you'll watch the one where it's a theme park. Maybe you'll watch the one where it's a computer. Maybe you'll watch one of the early ones. It's much better.
I'm going to watch some this week in preparation.
I did want to watch some. I've got just 2 Howlings left to watch, or maybe it's 3.
Oh yeah,
I've got some Howlings, but if I can get enough Howlings watched, then I might get on some.
I'll give it a go.
Hellraiser before we go there. But in the meantime, look after yourselves and all the trauma that's out in the world there, guys. Don't
look after yourselves. And if you see somebody smiling at you from like across the way or something, it's probably all right. Yeah, it's probably just someone being nice.
Probably just someone being a bit polite. And not everyone can smile in a nice way. It takes practice. So cut them some slack. It's probably almost definitely not a trauma monster.
No.
And for God's sake, be careful wrapping presents, all right?
Yeah, if you're wrapping presents, make sure the cat's in another room. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Is there a train in their house somewhere?
Yeah, there's got to be.
Just bin it off. Probably got one like
sequel
in the cat's bed, just like a little train.
Okay.
Oh well. Until next time. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.